This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good morning, and welcome everybody to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands in South Africa, where it is a wonderful, nice and overcast morning. My name is Steve and I'm joined by Alex on camera, and as always this morning is dedicated to the kids out there, so please send through your questions at WildEarth Kids, sorry, I completely forgot what the email address is. Alex, do you remember? kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Thank you very much. I have been on leave. I've been away and refreshing my brain, and it's going to take a few moments for the gears to all work completely. But this morning we're out and about, and we have picked up some tracks of a male leopard that are heading straight along this road. And this is one of our boundary roads on the sort of the western side of the reserve that heads directly south, and there is a big male leopard that I'm a big fan of. His name is Hukumuri, and he loves to walk along this road, and by the route that he's come from, the direction that he's heading, he's left tracks in the sand, and the light unfortunately at the moment is just a little bit too low for us to be able to show you, but we're going to drive this to the southern part, see where he's gotten to, and if need be we'll follow him over towards the west. My name is Steve Falconbridge, and I've been here before, but I've been away for some time. And I am very excited to be back in the driver's seat. Very excited to be following up on some of the animals this morning. My first initial idea was to head over to, there's the tracks, those are fresh. Head over towards Simbambili in the west to see if I can follow up on my favorite lion pride, Djuma Pride, which is a pride of lions that spends a lot of their time with us here on Djuma. And I haven't seen them in ages. The last time I was here, I didn't see them once the entire time. We spent months and months following them with their cubs, and we weren't able to, in my last stint, get to see any of the cubs, or the adults for that matter. And it was quite disappointing. But we're going to start off, hopefully seeing where this male leopard has gotten to, and he's still headed straight down this road, so I'm going to speed up just a little bit, because when a leopard is walking on the road, as this guy is doing, they generally walk quite far, quite quickly. The purpose of, as you can see, myself driving in the road is a lot easier and a lot quicker to do than if I went through the vegetation. So animals utilize these, what looks like a massive big game path, for them, and they use it for their natural territorial boundaries. And so individual like Hukumuri, a big dominant male leopard, would use it for territorial marking, walking along and periodically spraying some urine, and also calling. But who knows, that could have been quite some time last night, as Tristan, who will be joining me shortly, said game drive was 12 hours ago, so many things could have happened since then. But maybe we'll be lucky. Talking about the man himself, Tristan Dix is also over on the other side of Djuma in the driver's seat.
We are indeed, and it's a interesting morning this morning. The weather is very different to what we've been experiencing. It's warm but overcast this morning, and I'm hoping that we'll still have some luck for the day. Now, before I get into what I'm doing and why I'm driving around in a circle, as Steve mentioned, my name's Tristan. On camera I've got BK this morning, and what we're busy doing is I'm trying to just ascertain exactly where Klalamba went. So Klalamba, our little female, I think it's her, she walked right past camp and she walked down to the dam camera. It looks like she drank at the small pan that's close to the dam cam, and now I'm trying to see whether or not she came across this way or across this side. I suspect if she had walked on the dam wall we would have heard from her or seen her, and we didn't, and there's no tracks coming down. But when I was driving over the dam wall, what I was looking at is that it's very difficult for her to cross the river or the dam towards this side from that northern point. There's not really space for her to do it unless she goes through water, which I'm pretty sure she won't. So what I want to do is just go check back up towards Quarantine and see if I don't pick up her tracks heading a little bit south and then coming down maybe, because the other day when we found her, she was coming out of this area after a pretty similar walk. So I just want to do a little loop and then come back down and check this side and see if maybe she's gone back northwards again. I know she was on a duiker kill the last couple of days right up in the northern parts of Buffels Hook, and so this could be her coming back down and just coming to do a bit of territory marking and checking. But if you look from here, it would be very difficult for her to have crossed. So the pan that we're talking about is pretty much on this area over here. So this is where she would have drank, and then she's got to now try and figure out a way. So there's the pan area there. She's now got to figure out a way to get across from that side all the way along, and she's got to then somehow cross that patch of water, which is pretty tricky because the water goes right up into the electrified fence that protects Vuyatela camp. And so unless she's kind of hopped the fence and walked along, I don't expect her to be crossing over this particular part of the dam. So what I want to do is, like I say, just go and check if her tracks go back up towards Quarantine. If they don't, then she somehow figured a way through there, and then we'll try and pick it up on a Mvubu road somewhere if we're lucky. But there's been lots of Franklins shouting and screaming. It is that time of the day when they do shout and scream, because it's obviously wake up time for Franklins, and they've got to tell everybody that this is my area and I'm awake. So we're going to try and kind of discern the difference between those that might have seen a leopard and those that are just, well, shouting for the sake of making a noise. The problem though this morning is that the tracking is very tricky. It's not easy at all because of how flat the light is. Clouds make the light really difficult for tracking. You don't get the same shadowed effects on the tracks, and so we're going to have a bit of a tough time this morning following them, but we'll try our very, very best. And so while we do that, we want to send you across all the way to andBeyond in Ngala for the first time this morning so they can say good morning and see what their plans are for today.
Good morning to all the kids from all around the world that's watching the safari this morning. So we're currently at andBeyond in Ngala. I'm Nikki Miller, going to be your guide this morning, and then with me on the camera is Owen. So we're pretty excited for this morning. It started off, let me just make sure that I stay on the track. So it started off this morning on a very good note. So Owen decided to not make a cup of coffee, but actually craft this delicious cup. He used all the special ingredients. He said to us, like, because he crafted it so well, we can actually see right through the bushes. That's how strong he made it. But so our plan for this morning is we're thinking it is overcast. I heard earlier on when Tristan did his introduction, he was talking about the clouds and how difficult it is in order to track because of the light. However, when it's cloudy like this, sometimes you might find the predators moving. They might only come into the river a little bit later. They might already be in the riverbed and they might move along it because it's not as cold as it normally would be. So for them, there's no need to go and hunker down in order to get away from the cold. So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to explore the riverbed, see if there's any chance of finding lion and leopard this morning. But of course, whatever we see is what we see. So those are just some of the things we could be possibly looking at. As it warms up, there's a chance we might find some elephants, maybe some buffalo coming down to drink water. We don't know what the weather's going to do, if it's going to stay like this for the next little while. But I am excited. I know there's quite a few other rangers that are joining us this morning. So from Pinder, Tswalu Kalahari, Djuma. So it's going to be a beautiful morning. And hopefully, with this overcast weather, we'll be able to see some amazing things. So that's what I'm hoping for. Shivan, with that question, I couldn't hear the question properly. I'm going to ask one of our directors, Landeka, just to go again with the question. I would say, so with that question on the, Owen just answered the question for me, or asked the question. So I would say probably the best would be a big, so I would say, like, I think filming in general with both of them would be the same, because I mean, even on a small and a bigger reserve, like, you'll have a lot of animals moving around, and it also depends on the time of the day, depends on the behavior of the animals. But I think in both cases it could be easier, I mean, for a big reserve because of the numbers of animals that might move through the area, but also it could be really difficult. I mean, if the weather doesn't want to play along and it starts raining quite hard, the animals might move into cover, and I think it will be difficult for both a bigger and a smaller reserve then. But to my whole thinking behind it is, I think either way, a big or a small reserve, I think the filming opportunities would probably be the same. I think sometimes with a smaller reserve, they won't have as big of an area to traverse on, but the opportunities could be there. So I think it can go either way. There's actually a little bit of a drizzle now at the moment. You might just see the screen with some droplets. We'll have to monitor it because we don't have a roof on the vehicle. So if it's just excuse there, we just wanted to wipe the lens. But if we do feel that it starts raining quite a bit, we'll have to quickly just shoot back and then come back out again once it's ceased. But let's just give it a go as we carry on. So now this area, just to show everyone more or less, so this beautiful riverbed, the dry Timbavati River that we're driving through. And what we're going to do is carefully scan these banks. Now for leopard, of course, we're looking out for the white at the end of the tail. For lions, we might be looking out for the same sandy color. So just have a look at the beautiful banks there. And another thing that we'll be also looking out for is, of course, any tracks. Now, I just wanted to point out something while we just stop the vehicle. Now, I know a lot of the kids are probably, like, you had a lot of lessons in terms of how to track, what are some of the things we're looking out for, but normally on an overcast day like this, what we're trying to see is, with a bit of rain and the mist in the morning, there's almost like a little layer on the sand. So you can see it looks a bit of a darker color. So if something would move through, I'm going to move slightly further away just for the angle of the camera, but if I had to stand here and something had to move over the sand, I don't know if you'll be able to notice the color, but if I can take the top layer of the sand and break it apart, you'll see the sand has a very light-ish color in comparison to the sand around. So what we're trying to look for any disturbed patch of sand, because that's probably where the lions or those leopards could move to. Also later on, if there's elephants, they might just move through this area. There's quite a few elephant tracks, but those are what we're looking at for. So compare this. So look at the sand on the right here. You have to carefully, like, look, you'll see it has more of an orange, darker color. But the sand, if I had to take this in my hand here, is of a lighter color. So then we can compare and say, okay, that's dark and this is light. We're going to follow the light because that means it's a fresh track from this morning. All right, shall we carry on with our drive? Okay, so we're going to carry on with our search. While we do that in the meantime, let's send you across to Steve Djuma and hear if he has any updates for us. And hopefully, as I said, we'll all be very lucky.
Thanks, Nikki. Well, we just had a brief view of a hyena that was walking along this very, very well-utilized road, and he's gone into the thickets. So we're not going to try follow because I can't even see where he went to. But we are on what we call our... Have you got something? Oh, we got some zebras. Now, I'll show you on a map in a few moments. We are on the western boundary of Djuma. On our left is Arathusa, and a little bit further up is Simbambili. They're all private reserves within the boundaries of the Sabi Sands, which is a pretty decent sized private game reserve that is adjacent to the Greater Kruger, or it's part of the Greater Kruger National Park. Let's just stop there before they get a bit skittish there. The zebras, and you can see them, they're wagging the tails, the beautiful striped horse. Historically known, people from around the world have always been mystified at the beautiful colors of these animals. And right where they're standing, can you see that the grass is quite short right there? And essentially what this provides, if Alex just goes slightly left and just follow that to the left, you'll see it's quite a wide area, and then you see the road as well is quite wide. That is the boundary, and this is utilized as a fire break. So you see from left to right quite a large area. So that fire break on the right where the zebras are standing has been managed, and so therefore has produced a nice little green flush of vegetation, which is what these zebras are looking for. Zebras are grass eaters, and I have to apologize about the poles in the background, but that is some of the electricity provision that comes into the park from outside. And there we go, beautiful, beautiful zebra. Teeth on the top and the bottom of the mouth. I know that might sound quite strange to you, but zebras, out of the herbivore animals, there might be some others, but most of the animals we see out here, buffalo, impala, kudu, all of them don't have teeth on the top, like our incisors on the top of the teeth, whereas zebra do. So they're able to chop the grass, they're able to chop the straw, and they're able to chop it down quite low as well. And what that does is it opens up vegetation for other animals. But zebras are always the first animals to move onto an area that's been cleared, an area that's been cut down, and an area that's been burnt, looking for that green flush that's popped out. Because you must bear in mind, we are going into the winter now. We are probably already in winter. This grass is all going to get, can you see there's just a bit of a green tinge around the zebra's feet? And that's what the zebra is looking for. And the grass to the right, which is long and dry, that has got very low nutrients in it. And so most animals will avoid it, looking for the beautiful greenness that is around. And if you burn grass or you cut grass out of season, it will flush initially. And that is what this animal is looking for. Such wonderful families of zebra around. Only 2 of them in this group. Hello, Kimea, age 8. You want to know why we haven't seen any zebras for some time? I'm not really sure. I haven't been here. But we had some tracks on the road. This area, for the most part, is, if you just go a little bit to the right, Alex, you'll see how densely vegetated it is. It's quite dense, quite thick. Now, when I talk about zebras being grass-eating animals, they also like to hang out in open areas. And in the Sabi Sands, there are a few open areas, but there's not an enormous amount of them. So wildebeest and zebra both like to hang out in open areas, not just because the vegetation is suitable for them there, but if you were watching last night or a couple of days ago, you would have seen how Tristan got a lion kill. 2 warthogs got killed by lions, and when the vegetation is thick and dense, animals like zebras try and avoid hanging out there because they can't see. Zebra's strategy of survival is to see a lion and then run away. But if they can't see the lion because the vegetation's so thick, there's a very good chance that they will get caught and eaten. So they try and stick to areas that allow them to have good visibility of predators lurking in the long grass. And that is the general preferred habitat. Now, what is a habitat? A habitat is an area an animal lives in, sleeps in, eats in, and breeds in. So if a habitat or an area is not suitable, it's not preferred, it's an area that the animal has evolved not to really spend too much time in. So zebras like to hang out in medium to small groups in open areas where there's lots of grass. Hello, Prrivate 13. There's lots of discussions about the stripes of zebras, and the collective name for a group of zebras is in fact called a dazzle. Now, you might think that's a wonderful word, but when a group of zebras is together, moving together, those stripes provide an optical illusion which, yes, can indeed confuse a predator. First of all, the herd, individuals are not then easily seen by a predator. Predators have got a black and white vision, which means that they can't really see depth. They see outlines and they see shapes, but they don't really see sort of function of individuals together if they are moving as one. And when the zebras are standing in a group or running together, the lion can't really pick out an individual. They like to select the weak, the young, and the infirm, because it's always easier to catch something. Well, they go for the easiest meal, of course. And if a baby zebra was standing here next to mom, the legs, that is a mom indeed, the legs would be the same length as mum, and the belly would be the same height, but the body would just melt into the side of mum. You wouldn't know if it was standing on the other side or on the front side. We could, because we've got color vision, we can see depth. But a lion or a leopard, for that matter, wouldn't really be able to notice or pick out the youngster in the herd. It might get one glimpse, but then as the herd sort of forms one again and moves off, it's very hard for that predator to single out the easiest prey animal. So that is one of the reasons behind, one of the massive theories behind the stripes of zebras. There's a lot of others that are related to temperature regulation, and a very, very interesting one which is related to the biting flies, which are very, very persistent out here, especially in our summer months. But you can see her tail is flicking vigorously, and they have the ability to twitch their body all over the place because there's always things trying to suck the blood. And there's been quite a lot of studies out there that have shown that a striped animal actually has less chance of being eaten by a biting fly than a black animal or a white animal. And so that is another potential reason behind the evolution of the striped zebra. I think they are just beautiful. She's looking across the road to see if the grass is greener on the other side. And in my opinion, it doesn't look like it. Okay, well, we're going to move on from our zebra, slowly make our way over towards the west, and while we do so, let's send you back over to my good friend Tristan.
Well, as you can see, we are staring at a stinky, mushy, fresh pile of poo. And it is from a leopard that we are looking at this poo. And I'm going to show you why we know it's a leopard. Now, this could have been confusing for some people because there are lots and lots of tracks here for different things. Now, I need to find a stick because when we're prodding around and poking around with poo and things like that, one must have a stick. One must never touch scat from a predator. It's full of bacteria, and you can get very, very, very sick if you do it. Right, so obviously this is the poo itself. It's been made by a leopard. We can tell it's fresh because, well, you see how soft and pliable it is. Very, very, very wet, which means it was made very recently. Now, what interests me about this particular poo is it's from a female leopard, but I know that Tlhalamba was on a kill for the last 2 days, and this poo is too small for a leopard that's just come off of a kill, which is very, very interesting. But you can see bits of fur and things in there. But what I really wanted to show you, and this is such a nice example because we never really see it like this, is if you have a look here. Oh no, my stick broke. Let's get a new stick. It was a poopy stick anyway. All right, you've got tracks going down like this, and you've got tracks going down like this. Now this track over here Okay, looks quite sort of leopardy, but it's actually not. This is a hyena track. So if we take the edging of this particular track and you draw sort of along the edge, you'll get one lobe and two lobes coming down. I'm just trying to make it a little bit clearer for you guys so you can see it. All right, so you've got the two lobes of the hyena track. Then you've got the toes with the little banana-shaped sort of edges to them that come like that. And then you have claws at the front. All right, so that is hyena track, but right next to it is the female leopard track. So if you look here, no claw marks in front, and the toes don't have that banana shape. There's a toe there. So sorry, I'm just trying to draw it out so that you can actually see it a little bit better, because otherwise it's a bit more tricky. And then here, 1, 2, 3 lobes. Okay, so that is the leopard track there. That is the hyena track. You can see the difference also of the angle of the foot. You see how the back of the pad here has an angle for the hyena, whereas the leopard has a straight line. So you've got straight line there, hyena, slanted. Okay, and the hyenas come back and forth, and it looks like it sniffed the leopard dung, and then moved off. The leopard, on the other hand, came, defecated, and is carried on walking down the road. So we're going to try and see if we can find it. Like I say, the tracks are good. It seems like this hyena was following her. Given that this track is going pretty much down towards the den, it's not surprising. You would expect hyena tracks all over this road. But this looks fairly fresh. I don't think it's a very old poo. I mean, obviously you can't tell within like minutes, but I suspect that that's from the early hours of this morning. So we'll try and find it. I'm just going to go a wide berth, because sometimes these leopards, they come down like this, and then they turn into this bush on the right-hand side, and then they walk the western side of quarantine. So what I want to do is just go very, very slowly, just making sure, and you can see her tracks are a lot clearer, actually, when you start coming down. There's a darker type of sand here, which makes it much easier to pick them up. Closer to us, Mika, this darker stuff. There you can see them. So that's her track at the end of my finger, going through. So you can see much easier there. That's her hind foot as we're going. Greg is 5 years old. Not always. Certain things do show up. So if you've got things like impalas, then often the fur that comes through is a little bit of reddish in nature, or bushbuck. But it's not that easy to tell. I mean, that particular one is still so fresh. The fur is all covered in the sort of olivey poo, and so it's difficult to actually see the color of the fur. But it could very well be Kalamba, but she must have made a couple of poos last night then, because that certainly isn't a very big one for a cat that potentially has been eating. Now you see I've already lost the track. It's gone off somewhere, like we were saying, so I think it might have cut into this bush on the right hand side. So when we say that we've cut off, what we're doing is we look along the road, and they walk, and then there's a point where you don't see the tracks anymore, so you know that they've moved off. And what the best way to do is then to stop the car, get out, walk a little bit back, and then spot where the track goes. And they'll always be on the edge of the road. There's always going to be a track that has a slightly different direction. As I was saying to you with the leopard track back there, they have a straight back, so when they're walking, their feet go straight like this. Hyena feet out like that, which is why they have the angle. All right, so these guys, when you start to see the straight footedness like this, and then you see a track that does that, that's telling you that that animal is moving now in a different direction. If the track goes this way, then we know left. If the track goes that way, right. So that's what we're looking for. It tells us a change of direction, and then we can see where the next footprint is. And once you start to get onto a track, it's quite cool, because you can actually work out this length between each one. So a really nice way to do this is, if you ever carry a tracking stick, is that you find really nice clear tracks. You put your tracking stick down and you measure from one foot to the next foot. And then what you know is when you lose the track, so if you're walking along and you're like, I don't know where it is, you take your tracking stick and you lay it down, and you just do almost like a circle with that tracking stick facing in a sort of 270-degree forward-facing manner, and then you look at the point of where the next footprint should be, and often that will help you find the next track if you're battling to see it. So sometimes using a little stick and knowing where the next foot should be and where your eyes should be looking can really, really help in being able to see the next footprint, which is pretty cool. But I'm going to have to just quickly jump out here and have a little look. and see where she went. She's definitely gone off. And so while I do that, I'm going to send you back across to andBeyond in Ngala and see how they're doing on that side.
So we just found a few vervet monkeys up in this buffalo thorn. And it looks like these ones are grooming each other. Now it's very interesting. The one's just picking up his tail so the other one can get under the tail. Maybe it could be some ticks that he's after. It's one way to start your morning. So there's quite a few vervet monkeys up in this tree. The other ones you can't really see because they're just a little bit further back. And with the shade at the moment, you can't really see them properly. I don't think you'll be able to see them with cameras. So we'll stick with these two for the next little while and see if they start moving. But you can see the tree, a very big tree that's growing on the bank of the river. And I can just imagine these vervet monkeys still early on in the morning up in the tree. That's where they're very safe, especially at night with all the predators around. And also, I mean, that tree that they're in, it's called the buffalo thorn, and it's a really harsh tree to try and climb up because of all the thorns. So at the very top, oh, and so see where they are now. If you go slightly up from that, see that little gap there? Yeah, if you would zoom in right there, you might see the tail of the other ones as they are moving up into the tree. You might see some more movement soon. Wow, just how, oh, look, there we can see his face. You'll just notice, like with the face, quite a dark face with a little white brow. Sam, age 10, the biggest, I would say, would be elephants. That's the biggest one, mammals that we've seen out on our drives. And the smallest we've seen, sure, there's quite a few of the smaller ones as well. But from the big ones, definitely an elephant. And what's quite nice is being in the riverbed, there's always a good chance of seeing elephants, especially now. With us, we are going into a change of season, so it is a lot drier. So the elephants come down to the water, they'll start digging, or down to the river, they'll start digging in the sand to get to the water. And with them, they're very water dependent, so they do need to drink quite a bit of water in the day. Oh, look at this, such a beautiful bird here. Owen, I'm going to try and direct you. See where there's a fallen from where the vervet monkeys are? The tree right next to it, those two trees together. Here? Yeah. Okay, go the one on the right, the smaller one on the right. Okay, yeah, so if you go down a little bit from there, I just want to show all the kids. Yeah, just go down the trunk. I just want to see where you are in relation to where this bird is sitting now. So I just want to try and find it again. It's actually very well hidden. So see where that trunk is now. Okay, go to the tree on the right of it. So you go to that little one there. Okay, now go up a little bit. Okay, right there. Okay, try to zoom in. Go up a little bit. Just trying to see. We'll try and see if we can find this bird to show everyone. But I think in the meantime, while we're trying to do that, let's send you across to. Is it Tristan or Steve? We're going to send you across to Steve with a giraffe. Aren't you, man?
It's okay, don't worry. Lots of people confuse Steve and I for one another, so all good. It happens to the best of us. But anyway, we've got another spotty creature, not the one we were looking for and tracking, but at least another iconic, beautiful, I suppose you could call it spotted. I mean, they're not really spotted, let's be honest. Those are more blocks than spots, but still a nice patterned animal in the form of a really big giraffe, and he's the most beautiful color, this male. He's dark, and he really is in phenomenal condition. Now, a lot of the time when we see big male giraffes like this, often they have little patches on their necks from where they get filaria, which is a type of insect that irritates their skin and causes them to scratch and ends up with little wounds on their neck. So they get that, which is not very nice, or they can get a virus which causes little bumps. So sometimes you see male giraffe are not always in the best condition, but this particular guy is looking absolutely perfect. His fur is all good, his body is in a strong way, he's got lots of muscle, and it's just looking as good as you could ever imagine. Now, we know that this is not a very old giraffe, so you might be wondering, well, how would I know it's not a very old giraffe? If you look at him now that he's turned side on and you look at the top of his head, I want you to see that he's got, obviously his ears are not torn at all, so his ears are nice and whole and looking good. But if you look between his eyes, you'll notice that there's a little bump. But that bump is small, it's not very big, it kind of just looks like it's part of his skull. Now that in an older giraffe will become bigger and more what we call gnarled, which is basically lots of little bumps, and it'll sometimes even the skin will separate where the bumps are coming through, because what's happening is calcium is being deposited on the giraffe's skull. And these calcium deposits form bigger, thicker, bony areas, and that's going to help him when he's competing for mating rights, basically. So when he's competing with other giraffe, he's going to need these bony deposits, because the harder he swings his neck with that heavy head, the more impact it's going to hit when it hits the other one, and you're going to find that the other giraffe's going to be hurt more. And so what's interesting with giraffe is that around 5, 6, 7 years old, they are fully grown. So their body has reached its full height, but their skull, by the time they are 14, weighs double that of when they're 7, even though the rest of the body stays the exact same, which is pretty crazy. And so it's amazing to see how these bony deposits form, and that you can use as a way of aging giraffe. When they don't have huge bony deposits on their forehead, then you know that they're a little bit younger and are still developing in that regard. The nice thing with him, though, is that he's really nice and dark. A lot of the giraffe out here aren't really as dark as this. If you go to certain areas within Africa, typically areas that are denser, so more forested, then the giraffes start to take on a darker appearance like this. The more open and clear it is, typically the lighter they are. And that's probably due to the fact that the sun is an important part of that. The sun, obviously in an open grassland, it needs to be reflected a little bit. So lighter colors reflect light, which will just help with their cooling down a little bit and will just help with the body temperature. Whereas in darker areas, they don't have that problem. Also in darker areas, so in places like this with a lot of trees, shade is everywhere, and darker coats blend in with shade better than lighter coats. So grassland areas lighter, forested areas more dark. But it was a good opportunity to sit with him now just to listen, because our leopard kind of has moved off, and sometimes when they move into thickets, then you can hear an alarm call, so like a bird or a impala or something like that. So it was a good opportunity for us just to sit for a little bit and listen. The other nice thing with giraffe, and when you're tracking cats, is if you have giraffe nearby, they can often be a really nice indicator of where the cat is. Because of how tall they are, they can see much further than what we can. And so often if you see giraffe just staring into a bush, they don't make an alarm call like an impala would, but they just stare into a bush and they look and they look and they look. Then you know there's something funny going on there and you need to go and investigate. This particular guy at the moment is just looking at us, so unless there's a leopard on our vehicle, which I doubt, it's not that. But if he was to turn, let's say, and just stare straight into a bush for a long period of time, that could maybe help us with being able to find our leopard. So it's an important thing just to watch and to pay attention to. Isn't he beautiful though? You can see that nice long tail that's flicking every now and then. These guys have got some of the most beautiful tails out in the African bush. It's long black hair that comes out. And you'll find that they'll slap the side of their bodies with it, and that's just to try and keep flies away. Lots of biting flies land on them. Sam, who's 10 years old, how often do we see giraffe? So Sam, it really depends on the time of the year. Sometimes we have a lot of giraffe, sometimes we have no giraffe. And so, I mean, it really depends. If we're in a season where, let's say, the knob thorns are flowering, so July and August, then typically a lot more giraffe. And then any of the acacia species of tree, when they flower, giraffe tend to be around. But yeah, it's very, very, very random. So sometimes we'll have, like I say, lots of giraffe around, sometimes not. At the moment, we're not seeing too many giraffe. I saw some last night, but prior to that was about 5-6 days ago that I saw giraffe. So they're not that common in this particular area at the moment, and that's probably due to the fact that most of our trees are not flowering, and so there's other areas that they can go and find more nutritious food that is safer for them. It's more open, the way that the land rolls or is flatter, and just better conditions for them to live in. They like more open, kind of flatter areas. You find these hilly, sort of big katinas that we have, where there's crests and drainage lines and thick bush. It's not really a giraffe's favorite place. So the giraffe viewing here is not the best in the world, but it's also not bad. I mean, we do see a fair amount. If you go up into East Africa, that's where you really start to see big groupings of giraffe. It's amazing to see up that part of the world. You can sometimes get giraffe numbers of 30 plus, which is in one group, which is really crazy. Oh, look how beautiful he is. Isn't that magnificent? And you see how both his legs move at the same time. So both right legs and both left legs. It's different to most animals. Most animals will be opposite, but these guys are both left, both right. And then the big long neck is them. So as they walk, their necks shift slightly, and that allows them to balance and not fall over, which you'll see if he turns his body. Come on, turn for me a little bit. He doesn't want to turn. Anyway, all right. Well, it's very, very exciting because now we're going to send you down to andBeyond Pinder for the very, very first time. It's a new area and lots of exciting animals for all of you to learn about.
Hello and welcome to andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. My name is Damon, and behind the camera this morning we've got Marcel, and we're very excited to be bringing you this new location from the eastern part of South Africa in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. And we've come out here into the southern plains of the reserve in search of a pride of lions. And while we haven't found lions just yet, we've managed to find quite a large herd of buffalo and a warthog. So down there somewhere in that long green grass is quite a large herd of buffalo. We watched them walk down the hill and head into that thick green bush. Look at how thick it is in there. Lots of lush long green grass for them to be feeding on. Plenty of nutritious food. And a special welcome to all of our younger viewers this morning. Love to hear from you. Love to hear if you have any questions about these buffalo or about andBeyond Phinda Private Game Reserve. And I'm not sure if you can hear, but there's quite a lot of crashing going on in that thick bush there. And I wonder if those buffalo are not starting to feed using the cool of the morning to take in as much grass as they can before the sun gets up too high and it starts to get really intense, at which stage they'll start to move and look for some shade. There we go, there's a couple walking through the long grass there. See that one stopping to look at us? See how it's lifted its head? comment from Ari. You said that you're hoping to see some lovely antelope. Ari, we're also quite excited to show you some of the different species of antelope that we get here at andBeyond Pinder Private Game Reserve. Oh, buffalo's running. Something seems to have spooked them. Can you hear all the crashing? I wonder if perhaps it wasn't that little warthog. That maybe one of the buffalo just caught a glimpse of it, wasn't sure what it was, and set off a wave of panic in the herd. And you might start to see the beautiful golden light that's coming through. The sun is just peeking up over the ridge to my right, to our east. And there's still wonderful calls of various species of birds. Don't know if you can hear that. Alright, I think with these buffalo moving off into the thick bush, we can't really see them anymore. They're probably going to keep on feeding through that thick green grass. We're going to leave them for now, continue with our search for that pride of lions. In the meantime, we're going to send you across to Nikki at Ngala, who's managed to find an elephant.
So we just found an elephant. I'm going to just quickly stop here. He was earlier on in the riverbed, but now he's moved up onto this bank here. And it looks like it's only one elephant. Now, before I carry on, I just want to give my apologies to send you across to Tristan. I know I said Steve earlier, but it broke up. So I'm definitely going to make up with it. Tristan, I'm going to buy you a beer after all of this, and we're going to make it up. We're going to have a nice braai at some point, and then definitely catch up. Let's go back to this elephant. It looks like it's only an elephant bull because of the fact that he is by himself. And normally with elephants, especially the bulls, they get kicked out of the herd. It could be anywhere from 13, 14 years, but normally the average is around 16 years. And then once they get kicked out, they sometimes join with other elephant bulls. Now, with him, it looks like he is moving off, but I just want to show you where he spent most of his time this morning. So, I'm going to focus on that little area, that little patch at the base. You can see right over there, it looks like there's quite a bit of a disturbance. So that elephant came down and he actually dug in the sand to get to the water and had quite a nice drink. And now from there on, he's moved onto the bank. But who knows, maybe we'll get lucky and see some more elephants as we go along the way. See his tracks come down here. It actually looks like there's more than one track. So it might be a couple of bulls that have moved through over onto the bank, and then of course the one was just trailing behind, probably really thirsty, and then had a nice long drink. And of course, being an elephant bull, he needs to eat quite a bit of food in the day, so he's now slowly going to move into an area, and as he goes along, he'll pick some of the leaves, branches, maybe strip the bark off and feed until it's time to drink again. Everyone is there. So Pinder is reserve where in South Africa start with and has to select that is the Pinder. And then I select I was at Mount and I'll continue soon, but while in the meantime, I'll send you across to Tristan, who's apparently just bumbling around.
Right. Well, Nikki, don't have a brown point. I called Nikki Sean the other day, so it happened. These things are the way it goes sometimes. Can't always remember everything, so that's okay, but we'll definitely have a braai. That'll be very nice. A braai is always a good thing, and when we're allowed to start doing those kind of things again, we certainly will. Now, I've just been doing a loop around trying to see if I can find more leopard tracks coming out of this little block. So far, nothing. I haven't checked the road on the other side yet. I was just checking the drainage line to see if she didn't come that way and if I could just find her lying up, but no luck just yet. It is a cool, overcast morning, and so it's very possible that she's still walking. We're going to try and obviously see if we can find her. What I might do as well is, just because it's so cool and that she might be walking, I might just go to the hyena den and just go sit there for a little bit and just spend some time. Maybe we get the little ones and listen out. If I can't find the track now, I'm just going to do one quick loop around just to see if there's any tracks coming out. If nothing, then I'm going to turn around from there and then back to the hyena den, and we'll just sit for a little bit and listen out. But also, it's that time where, unfortunately, it's the end of our kids only part of the drive. But don't worry, kids, you guys can still ask as many questions as you like, and we'll still try and answer them. But for everybody else, it is a very warm welcome. Remember, you guys can also ask questions and also interact using hashtag WildEarth or at FC on the YouTube chat. It will be most appreciated if you do talk to us. Generally, when we can have conversations and not talk to ourselves, it's pretty much a good day. It looks like it's also the clouds starting to break now, so hopefully that means it's going to warm up a little bit, because it's a coolish morning. It's not the best in terms of weather, but it's good for predators to keep walking. So what I'm trying to do now is just trying to scan around, just trying to see what I can find. This is where we had our giraffe just now, so we just did a nice big loop. And so now we're just going to check down around onto another side of the road. This is the male lion's tracks from yesterday. Just got to kind of decode all the tracks. I didn't drive here at all yesterday, so just trying to work out where everything went and whose tracks are whose, and you know how fresh they are. But we know for sure that people drove here yesterday, and so that means that the tracks for that leopard are very much fresh, and during the course of the night. And given that the dam cam was down for a little bit from about 2 o'clock this morning, I suspect that that's about the time that this leopard walked around there, is when the dam cam was down, because I don't think you guys, who are always so efficient on the dam cam, would have missed her walking literally right past the dam cam. She walked underneath it, so I'm pretty sure that you guys would have spotted her, so it must be around that. So we know we've got a good time frame in terms of looking for her. I say it's Kalamba. I might be completely wrong, and like I say, it might be another cat. Could be Tandy even, but it would be a surprise to me if it's Tandy. She hasn't been up this side for quite a while. Now, lots of you are saying you're very excited we're going to go to the hyena den. I think we might time it absolutely perfectly if we don't find the tracks here, because the light is just starting to come out, and I often find with the hyenas, particularly for the little ones, they like it when there's a bit of sunshine, and they're a little bit more kind of out and about. When it's cold and overcast, then they just kind of hunker down and tuck themselves in and just try and stay nice and warm for a bit. So if the sun comes out, it might be a good thing for us at the hyena den. So I'll definitely go there. I just want to quickly check here just to see if this leopard crosses. If I know she crosses over, then I know what we're listening out for and where we're listening for. If she doesn't, then it's going to suggest that she's still somewhere in this general vicinity. Those are hyena tracks. So I'm expecting her to come out on the top of this hill, by all those dead trees that are in front of me here. That's where I would expect her to pop out. Whether or not she's going to is obviously a different situation. Okay, I'm going to check here, have a little look. In the meantime, though, I'm going to send you across to Tswalu Kalahari for the first time this morning, so that they can say good morning. I'm sure Dylan will be full of beans and raring to go.
Good morning from Tswalu Kalahari. Another beautiful morning out here. It's Yandra again behind the camera, our trusty steed, and my name's Dylan. I'm glad you can join us again today. So we're on our way up to the Meerkat burrows, and we found the coolest thing. And I know some viewers may not like snakes, or you know, you guys with me today, but we couldn't but help notice these huge snake tracks that we came walking over on the way up to the Meerkat burrow. I'm just going to show you over here. on the ground right here. He's long. You can't see really how wide it is from here. This piece over here kind of gives you some idea in relation to my hand. So it's at least kind of 3 fingers width over here. And these are quite fresh. So these are probably, it's been actually a very, very mild evening, but I would guess probably late yesterday afternoon. But the snake is heading down in this direction. And the way you can see that is how the sand's actually been pushed back like that. This is actually the tail drag mark, going like that. So it's heading in this way. So let's just amble down here and see if we can find this. And we are very, very close. We're within 30 yards of the Meerkat burrows, interestingly. It's going through here. All the way through here. Oh, here it's very, very clear. Look at this. And you can actually see it very nicely on this example, how the sand's actually been pushed like this. So the direction of movement would be like that. So you'd get that sand pushing up in a ridge, which is what you can see very clearly over here. Tom, I love snakes too. I love everything out here, but snakes have just got this like really special place. They're often so misunderstood and so maligned, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But so many people have this inordinate fear of snakes, and yet they're just super, super, super awesome, super cool animals. You can see it beautifully over here. Look at this. Running all the way down here. And again, this is a puff adder. Puff adder's distinctive, as we spoke about the other day, with the tail dragging in the sand like that. And we know they love these little bush clumps. So I'm just going to walk around and see if there's any sign of the tracks coming out. It's still going in here. There we go. There we go. Going inside here. So let me just go around and see if there's anything coming out. This is so exciting. I mean, and they can travel far. They can go a couple of 100 meters at a time. A lot of insect tracks, all these little dimples in the sand all over here. These are all insect tracks. Got some nice buckspur spiders here. There's nothing coming out, so Genre, are we going to be able to like look inside here? Can you, I don't know if you can. Okay, we've just got the snake. We've just got the snake. Look at that. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous snake. Wow, wow, wow. It's actually really funny from where I'm sitting, and Genre, maybe if you come around here, there's actually an armored ground cricket sitting on his head. So here's a nice angle through there. See straight through that gap. I don't know if you can see that right at the back over there. How cool. Wild K, it's not always this easy, so yeah, it is a no way. Sometimes you can track these things and you get a herd of animals moving over the track and you don't find them. And also sometimes, the wind's been blowing a lot. It's very, very soft substrate, the sand. So we're making this look easy this morning because the snake made it easy for us and the conditions. But it doesn't always work like this. I mean, you can track these things just with no luck whatsoever. So now the interesting thing is I can't see from here, there's no distinguishing features on this animal. So remember we had the one very close to the meerkats yesterday. So Genre and I, we're obviously going to spend the time with the meerkats, but later we're actually going to go see if that other snake is still where we left it. And now I'm going to start GPSing, going to get GPS locations on these different snakes. And over the coming weeks, we're actually going to do our absolute best to try keep tabs on these different individuals. It'll be fascinating to see how far they're moving and if there's actually any interactions between them. Well, I'm super, super chuffed with this. So, sure, this is when the mornings just go right. So, Another tough day in Africa. Yeah, Alexis, one of the distinguishing features of these snake tracks is on a puff adder, is they got that lovely, very, very clear line in the middle or slightly off center of which is the tail, tip of the tail dragging in the sand. That's one of the easiest ways to distinguish a puff adder track from other snakes. A lot of the other snakes I would battle with, and you know, we've got a brilliant snake researcher here, Tilo, and over the coming weeks I'll try to introduce you guys to him, and he may be able to give us more insight in terms of if you can actually distinguish from like other snakes, like let's say a mole snake and a cobra. I can't. I'm certainly not at that level yet. I've still got a lot to learn out here. But puff adders you can definitely tell that it's a puff adder track. And they've also got this very straight movement patterns, what we call reticular. So it's just literally inching along like a caterpillar, slowly, rippling along the ground. Whereas a lot of your other snakes have got that side winding motion, a linear motion. Puff adders can do it as well, but this is their typical form of locomotion that we've seen now. Yes, I'm so excited about this. This is great. But a bit of warmer weather again after that cold snap, and suddenly we're all out and about. Sure, well, let's leave this. We're going to head over to the meerkats and see. In fact, I think they're coming out. Well, I think head over to Ngala and we're just going to follow up on the meerkats. Enjoy.
So we just found a troop of baboons near the river, so we just want to give it some time. There's actually a few right next to us as we speak, but they are in tall grass. So if they carry on, there's a bit of an open area in front of us. We might just get them crossing over the road. So let's follow this one for a little while, and you'll see now what he's doing. He's constantly looking on the ground, and now and then you'll just see the grass moving next to him. So he's flicking up a few of these old branches, possibly some rocks, to see if there's any insects underneath, possibly even scorpions. And also what I'll try and do is just be quiet so you can hear the noises of the baboons as they are grunting and moving through the grass. Yeah, there are some that are just right next to us. I'm going to try and reposition the vehicle so we can see them. There's actually a few coming through, and I think if we just give it some time here, we might just find them coming out. So what I'm going to do, I think, let's go slowly forward and see if we can get a gap just to look back. Oh, there's one actually in the road now. So I think eventually they'll join him. It looks like he might be one of the alpha males, so one of the big ones that would probably lead this troop. There's a little one that just came up behind him. So this troop here is the one that we often see on our game drives, that, especially when we drive around the river. The tree where they normally sleep out at night. It's not too far from where we are now. But just have a look at how those little ones are just sitting in the middle of the road staring at us. I don't even think it might be at us. It might be at some of the baboons behind us in the trees. But look at the way the one is sitting with his knees up and his elbows resting on his knees. Oh, and you mind focusing on that big one sitting at the back? It was so interesting. Earlier on, he sat down and he was actually looking at his hands. I don't know if he might have stepped into something, but I could just see him like rubbing his hands and looking into his hands. It looks like he's also just waiting for the rest of the troop to come and join up. Gremlins general, a leader of a troop of baboons will probably be one of the alpha males. So there's actually quite a few. So it's not just one male that leads them. It's actually a couple of males. A very interesting sighting this morning. So with a troop of baboons like this, you have quite a few of these dominant males. That will actually go and they'll lead them. And so it's not just led by one, but actually quite a few dominant males. And I'll have a look. I don't know, like maybe if there's a specific term for those few males. I just always had the understanding they refer to them as the alpha males that will lead them, or just the dominant males within the troop that have a higher hierarchy than most of them. But I'll definitely try and find out. I know if some of the viewers have a specific term, I'd love to hear, but I do know it'd be quite nice to find that out. So I'll definitely find out for us. So look at that little one that's also just moving in the back. But we're interesting to see how these two are going to react or interact with one another. I'm going to just try and be quiet. I want you to listen to when the baboons have split up in a big area like this, how they communicate with each other. You just hear these low grunts. Of course, that's when I just decided to be quiet. But so you'll just hear those and these ones that we're looking at now, did you notice how they are looking off to the right? It's because the majority of the troop has moved into the tall grass. Now if you look behind us, you can't really see them. The only thing we can hear is the grass moving, and of course a few of them just grunting. But I do enjoy the way this one is sitting in the road. So I think for now, we'll probably just carry on with our drive, see what other amazing animals we can find. And in the meantime, while we do that, let's send you across to Tswalu Kalahari.
So every morning when Chandra and I come out and we're waiting for meerkats and looking for other cool things, we bring coffee with. But it seems we're not the only ones that enjoy the coffee. Nothing like fair trade coffee to get an armoured ground cricket excited. He's having a good swig, so do you think I should have a sip while he's in there? Current Creek coffee, ground cricket coffee is the best thing you can have early in the morning. Look at that. That's a compliment to whoever makes the coffee. I mean, you know. The meerkats still aren't out yet, so we got a little bit of time to spare. Just shows how adaptable they are. I wonder how many armoured ground crickets have ever had coffee before. Yeah, look, that's pretty cool, eh? I agree. Laugh out loud. Yes. And he's having a good time there. I'm always amazed. They've got these claws on the end of their feet, like most insects have. But even, and the claws are quite robust. I mean, they're super good for climbing up trees and, rough surfaces. And yet, I've watched them climbing up windows. Now, your tinier insects and things like flies or whatever, that you kind of understand. But when you see an animal this size climbing up a window, smooth, what to our eyes appears to be smooth glass, and of course glass isn't smooth. I mean, it's got its irregularities. But I mean, for an insect this size, yes, he's really getting in there. It's like hanging on by his back legs. And just out of interest, I don't know if it's his buddy, this little guy, also wanted to get some, but the one inside kicked him off just now. So it's like, I'm not going to share this coffee at all. I think Chandra and I, we're going to swap coffee cups just now. You see that? You see how they use their back legs? How they use their back legs to fight the other ones, or to keep the other ones away? That's really interesting to see that. And look what we're surrounded with, eh? You got meerkats popping up, you got snakes around us, you got armored ground cricket. There's just so much life out here, which at first glance, when you look across the landscape, you think, there's not too much going on, and yet there is so much going on. Debbie, these crickets are going to be wired. Probably, maybe not as much as Chandra and myself, but certainly probably in some manner. I'm just seeing some life on the meerkat side. So we're going to move over to the meerkats now. They're just getting out of bed. So let's have a look at that and let them drink their coffee. We're just going to set up properly up and just get settled for these meerkats. So in the meantime, I think head over to Steve and Djuma.
Hello everybody again, welcome. We are not actually on Djuma this morning, we are on Simbambili. And what we have found is lots and lots of lion tracks, and you just got to always make sure that you look left and right, everybody, before you get out of the vehicle. So on the road, just here on our right hand side, we picked up what I believe to be the tracks of the Djuma Pride. We're following them around. See, there's one there. You see that, Alex? See the tracks here, the toes, there's the back pad. Hey, in this way. Now these guys have done a bit of a big loop. We've picked up on female tracks, and then we found the Pride with the cubs, the tracks, and then they've sort of got mixed up again in this block here. Now these tracks are going back. We came all the way around there. So it's possible that this is actually individuals that came last night and then picked up the cubs, because we found those tracks over there. Then they came back into this area. We lost them again, and now on this cut line we found them again. But the tracks we had earlier seemed much fresher than this. But in this sandy substrate, it's not easy to differentiate fresh versus not fresh. But the problem is in the drainage line just down here, the Pungwe drainage. My first time being down here, notorious because it's a drainage line. It's deep and doesn't have the best signal. So we're going to go back along this trail here. Let's see, where's my earpiece gone? See if we can find where these lines have gone. And we don't normally do shout outs, but it is a good friend of mine's birthday today, Sierra, all the way over in the United States. I wish you a very, very happy birthday if you're watching. What a wonderful morning. It's so nice and fresh. I can smell a fire. Pavard, you said it's nice to see me. Well, thank you, Pavard. I'd love to say it's nice to see you too, but I can't see you. But it's nice to hear from you. It's nice to hear from everybody. We've just been bumbling around this morning. I'm on a property that I haven't been on before, which is quite exciting. And we found lion tracks pretty soon, which was very, very exciting. And I believe it's the Djuma Pride. They are following, you can actually see it quite nicely in the road now. That goes to show the freshness. It looks like someone has been following them, because next to those lion tracks are the tracks of a human being. So here's a lion, and here is a person. Very different, but intermingled here as well are tracks of buffalo, and we know that the Pride loves buffalo. But what has happened is we found tracks that side at Simbembile Dam, I think it was called, and then we followed them for a while, and then we found a urine mark. Why must I stop speaking if we've lost internet?
This is great. They're asking for a link. This is awesome. Oh, this is insanely good footage, eh? Tree frog, these birds are absolutely incredible. They are southern ant-eating chats, so very, very good call there. And what is fascinating about watching them interacting like this with the meerkats is, I'm guessing, what's happening is as the meerkats are coming out and doing some burrow maintenance, there's a very strong likelihood that they're going to be unearthing small little insects around there. And that's, I think, what the birds are going to capitalize on. It may be that the birds are actually nesting in the roof of one of these burrows. But I'd have to check that out, and I really don't want to go very close to the burrow and disturb the meerkats, even when they're gone, with the little pups inside. I really don't want to go too close to the burrows. So I think we'll just have to wait in suspense. But the fact that this bird's very keen on getting in there, sort of raises some interesting questions. It's absolutely... Lynette, that's geez, would the bird be helping the meerkats? You know what, where it could be, but as an indirect form of assistance would be in terms of vigilance for predators, because some predators on the meerkats would also very, very, very happily prey on an ant-eating chat, if it had a chance. A Cape cobra, for instance, which would go down a burrow and try catch the meerkat pups, would just as quickly prey on an ant-eating chat nest, whether it's eggs or nestlings. So certainly, if that ant-eating chat started giving alarm calls because it's seen a snake, that would alert the meerkats. And then coming back to that snake that we were super fortunate to find on the way in, that puff adder, you've just seen how cryptic they are and how they lie tucked away inside these bushes, you know, lying in ambush for rodents. So I think there's not a huge threat to meerkats from those unless they go down a burrow. But they're not really well adapted for actually catching things inside burrows. They are ambush predators. So, and that's kind of linking the bird with the meerkat with the snakes with predation. These animals are endlessly fascinating. Any animal, anything in the environment is endlessly fascinating. And you can actually have a lot of fun, you know, and it's always a good exercise for guides or, you know, anyone that's interested in the outdoors. Is even at home in your garden, sit at one tree, and it could be even a bush, it could be a rose bush. Sit at one tree or one bush and just sit there for an hour and just start looking at it super closely and seeing what you can actually see, and you'd be very surprised what actually pops up. You know, at first glance it's a rose bush, and next thing you see, oh, there's little fruit chafers there, there's little crab spiders on it, there's little aphids up and down, there could be other little beetles hidden on the bark, you're getting birds perching on it. You know, suddenly it becomes a whole new world. And often it's just, what you need is just the time, just sit down and say, okay, well, I'm going to look carefully, as opposed to just seeing everything, you know, in one big picture. I guess an analogy would be, it's like reading a book as opposed to looking at the cover of a book. Jabab, that's a tough one to answer. How many meerkat families have we got on Tswalu? We have absolutely no idea. But I would guess, in terms of the size of our area and the size area that the meerkats use, we've probably got hundreds of different meerkat families. But we focus on just a couple of groups that we really try to keep close tabs on, like this group, the horsas. Because there's so many, it would be extremely difficult actually just to try to look at all the different meerkat groups, you know, and keep them relaxed around people. So it's far easier to get one or two groups that have become super relaxed with us, and then you can actually get a better idea of how they're behaving, how they're interacting with their environment, rather than doing too many and just little bits at a time. Wow, this is just absolutely gorgeous. And the big alpha female is the one standing up closest to the camera. And the little one just on the other side of her is busy trying to do yoga. He's actually just doing proper grooming and giving himself a good clean. So while we're enjoying the antics of these little chaps, guys and girls, I think head over to Ngala and have a look what's going on that side.
Okay. So we have some very good news this morning. Like, I don't want to jinx it, but I also don't want to tell the viewers as of yet. But so Sean and Rowan managed to find something for us this morning. And so we're just quickly moving through this dense area. There we go. Sorry about that. So what we're going to do is
Well, guys, lots to report. Checked the hyena den. Hyena den wasn't active, so I thought I need to go back to that leopard track and try find it. I was sure there was on a hill because it hadn't come out, and I found her on foot with a kill, but I'm trying to just find her again now. I didn't see who it was. The kill is up in the tree. Has been here for a few days. It's not a fresh kill from last night, but there we go. At least we managed to find the kill. When I went to the hyena den and I wasn't active at this time, it kind of already started to make me think, I wonder what's going on. And ribbon is also here. So I saw a leopard and I saw a ribbon. Now I'm just trying to find where the leopard is gone, but at least we have the remains of an impala carcass that's here. So now it's just about finding where this leopard ran off to, because both ribbon and the leopard bolted at the same time, but I couldn't see who it was when I walked here. I got to about this point of walking. You can see where it was plucked and killed just on my right hand side. She went down this way somewhere. Where are you, girl? I think it's a girl. Like I say, all I saw was just spots running away from me. It's definitely a female track that heads in this direction. So we know Kalumba's a little bit shy when it comes to people on foot, so it might have been her. There she is there. She's lying down again. That's good. Biko, well done, buddy. Yay, leopard. That was easy enough, and on a kill, which means that she'll be here this afternoon, which is exciting news. So we're gonna just try and get into a position where I can see her. It actually looks like Tandy from what I can see from far, but we'll get to her now. She's just round this bush here. I don't know why I had such an inkling that there was a kill in this area. I said to BK, we need to come back here. I'm sure there's a kill. And sure enough, there is. No, I'm just trying to find her. There she is there. Hello, girl. I'm sorry that I walked into you. Did I make you nervous? Is it Tandy? It looks like maybe it's her. Going into a thicket. Typical leopard behavior after you find them on foot. They're a little bit shy sometimes, particularly this family, because let's go back quickly. But at least we have success, which is really, really good news. Like I say, it certainly looks like Tandy. I suspect it is her. Hello, my girl. It is you. Is this where you've been? I've been wondering where you've been the last couple of days. Don't be snarly at me. I'm sorry I walked into you on foot. I didn't mean to. But you didn't exactly leave a drag mark, so I didn't know you were on a kill. I'm sorry. It's okay. We're not here to steal your food. I know. Don't be snarly pants with me. Does she have suckle marks? Because I wonder, those cubs are soon going to be taken to their first meal, which will be interesting. But I was wondering where Tandy has been the last few days. We found no tracks going back into Torchwood, so she had to be somewhere on Djuma. But how she got from where we last saw her to here without us knowing is amazing. She's had to have used an underground tunnel. Although, to be fair, yesterday we didn't look for her very much because we were with the lions a lot of the time. But she must have made this kill not last night, the night before, and has spent the day here yesterday and this morning. What is amazing, though, is that there's been very little alarm calling in this area. Normally we hear this because it's so close to quarantine and to where we live. We would have expected us to hear her and kind of be around. I don't think there's any sign of the cubs here, though, as well. She's not exactly chuffing or calling them. Normally when there's a female with cubs, she'll be a lot more defensive of her kill. She would have given me a much harder time than she did. Like I say, she just got up and walked away or ran away slightly. So if she had been in a situation where the cubs had been here, she would have been a lot more kind of... It's not a great tree to get her going up it, but we'll try and get a gap here. And she's just through there. You see her BK. I'm going to stop here in case she comes up to the tree itself. Okay. Stop it now. said I was sorry. Nancy, she does have a portal system, as we well know with Tandy. She's got the ability to give you the Tandy slip, with her little underground tunnels that she has. But it just goes to show you how sometimes the kind of way that we've got to work things and track things is very different to the, well, not very different, but there's a formula, and when you follow the formula, generally it works. So, driving around, making sure there's no tracks coming out is always a good indication that there's something still inside the block. And then the ability to get off on foot and follow tracks really does make a huge difference when it comes to being able to track down these cats. I think we would have half the leopard sightings we had if we weren't able to actually follow footprints. And we must be honest, in this particular little block, it wasn't easy following her tracks. It was just kind of, I was lucky that hyena had followed her, and so there was like these kind of clear path where you could see her footprints and the hyena in certain places. But without being able to get off on foot, there's no ways we would have found this, I'm afraid. Are you going to go up for us, girl? Come on, up you go. Like I said, I did see Ribbon here as well. So she's also around. It's why the den is not active. Funny enough, the den actually hasn't been active the last few days, which has been interesting. They're definitely spending time there. I mean, when I was there this morning, it's fresh tracks all over the place for the little ones. So it's not that they're not there anymore. But it seems as though it just hasn't been lucky in terms of game drive times to find Ribbon actually with the little ones. Because, like I said, it hasn't been active the last, I think, 3 or 4 drives that the guys have gone and looked. Now, of course, finding leopards is always the most amazing thing, and the fact that we get to follow these leopards' lives is super special. And so if you enjoy seeing our leopards, and obviously now seeing all of the new animals from andBeyond Pinder and from Tswalu Kalahari and andBeyond Ngala, remember that you can support us so that we can keep this going. Just follow the link below and we'll tell you all the details from there. So it really is appreciated. Like I say, it's a wonderful thing in these times to have the ability to interact with nature and be able to ask questions and all those kinds of things about the natural world. I mean, I know because I was also on the other side of the fence. I was locked down for 6 weeks prior to coming here, so fully aware of what it feels like and how amazing it is to be able to have a situation like this where you can see nature and watch it in real time. It's really very special. I don't think Tandy knows what she wants to do at this stage. I don't think she was that impressed with me walking into her at this, where she's got a kill. I think she's in a situation where she's just kind of making sure that everything is all right and that I haven't taken anything and haven't come in and, stolen something from her. But it's a pity we've only found this today, because, like I said, it's definitely here the whole of yesterday as well. She'll be finished this kill by the end of tonight, and then we'll move off. But it's going to be a good indicator, because she'll go to her cubs from here. I'm pretty sure about it. BK, is she just lying down, or she's just milling about? No, her tail's still up, I think. Just see. I don't want to drive around too much. She's a bit grumpy at the moment, so just trying to let her settle down and let her do her thing and relax again. And then once she's settled and relaxed, then we can start to move about. She's sniffing and kind of covering up little bits of debris and all kinds of other things. Good. We're going to spend some time here with Tandy and enjoy. Obviously, this is where we'll be for the rest of the drive. In the meantime, though, let's send you across to Tswalu Kalahari. They're not with a ferocious leopard, but they've got little carnivores of their own.
So the group's slowly starting to move off. The alpha female has already moved. You've got the male standing there on the right hand side that Jandre's, or on the left hand side rather, that Jandre's focused on now. The breeze is picking up. You can see a bit of movement in the vegetation in front of him there. And that'll kind of drop the ambient temperature down a little bit. Or the real field temperature, should I say. It was so interesting seeing those anteating chats coming in like it. So I wonder who's going to be the babysitter today. We've got 2 left here. And who's it going to be? It's quite a huge responsibility if you think about it. You have these newborn pups, matriarch goes off foraging, and you left alone in this landscape, like full of things that just want to gobble you up. And you've got to make sure that by the time when that group gets back, all those pups are there. So as the winter months progress and the sun rises later and later every day, these little colonies of meerkats will get out later and get back to the burrow system earlier, which means that the time spent foraging becomes less and less and less, which is a very, very difficult thing, because at the toughest time of the year, with food resources at an absolute minimum, the further you go into winter, your foraging time is the least that it'll be during the year, as well as your ambient temperature being the coldest, so you're losing a lot of energy. So where we're heading with these meerkats now is going to be a critical time. So we must just keep our eyes open for these little pups when they come above ground, and like that's probably going to be in 2 to 3 weeks now. And yeah, let's just hold thumbs for this group. I mean, they've done so well so far over the years, and it's been we've had a fairly okay rainfall season. It hasn't been a bad one. It's been kind of average. So there's quite a bit of food around, and let's just hope that lasts. If it's a fairly mild winter, it should be okay. It's got this big armored ground cricket that came walking up to me. They're still warming up for the morning. It's always funny when Jandra and I are sitting here in the mornings. Oh, I apologize again, I didn't get the name there. But the question was, how close have the meerkats got to Jandre? And 2 days ago, they walked literally up to him. One of them walked right past him, probably not even a foot away from him, which is super cool. I mean, and it didn't like walk up to him concerned and worried and what are you? It was they were heading out to go foraging, and he's just another object in the environment, same as I am. Or our meerkat habituators when they're here, or a warthog that comes past. So they just ignored him completely and just carried on going. It may have been because he was also wearing his meerkat onesie, which is a bit unusual, but... Okay, I think we know who the babysitter's going to be. Wildcare, these meerkats are very, very, very comfortable with our presence, and it's taken a long time to get to this point. The wonderful sightings that we've been having at Ngala and Djuma with the leopards and hyenas and those things as well, that's years and years of being around those animals, being very cautious how you approach them, being very sensitive to the environment, and animals' behavior, and look at the quality of viewing that you get and the trust that animals give you in terms of not harming them. And we've done the same here with meerkats as one example. But it's super. So these little guys are about to go foraging. So in the meantime, while we sit here and wait for them to do that, head over to Ngala and follow up there again.
So welcome back. Hopefully the signal is in our favor now. But we just want to go through a few things in order to track lions, because that's the other thing that we're looking out for. So Ronan and Sean found some tracks of lions just behind us now, and what we're trying to do is whenever we look for lions is often the color. The color is very, very important. So just to give you an idea, I mean, I'm just going to lean out of the way so you can have a look at the color of the grass. So if you look at this area here, so you have to look at something that's a bit of a lightish color, like a sandy color. And then maybe like there could be a little bit of black at the end of the tail, maybe on the ear. And that's what we're going to use in order to try and find some lions. So very similar to this animal that you see right in the middle of the screen. So that's what we're looking out for this morning. No, I'm kidding. We've, Rowan and Sean just found the Birmingham Pride. And it seems to me with this Pride is the two Ross males have joined up. The young subadult male is here, as well as the two little cubs have been introduced to the rest of the Pride. So that is absolutely amazing. So we'll spend some time here with them and then see if we can just maneuver our way like down the road, see if we can get another glimpse of the rest of the Pride. You can see there's a few just at the back of the trees there. Look at how well they just blend in with the rest of the environment. You can just see a little bit of the ears and the eyes and the movement, but they're very much the color of the grass, and also a little bit of white on the mouth and under the chin. Just if we sit down and we're just quiet for a little while, you might even hear the lion's contact calling. Gemma, I agree, the whole band here is together. So it'd be interesting to see. I saw the young male, remember that Birmingham male that's been pushed out earlier on. I saw him just moving at the back. I don't know if he's put too much pressure on his leg, but it'd be nice to see if we can pretty soon get another glimpse of him. But it's nice to see the Ross males are here as well. There's actually a lioness moving in from the right to the left. So you see where that one was laying down earlier. Oh, and if we can just move up there, right there in the middle of the screen, she's now moving. You can see just her rubbing her back feet. She's probably just urinating, rubbing her back feet, and by doing that she's just marking her territory. Now this whole morning it was overcast, and so it was really hard to see tracks, and it was hard to spot animals around. But now with the colors coming out, look at how the grass starts to light up, as well as these lions. So we're going to try and reposition, see if we can get another glimpse of the rest of the Pride. But I think while we do that, let's send you across to Tristan with apparently one of the leopards walking on the road.
Well, she is walking on the road, and we're going to say it, I think she might be going to cubs, and I'll tell you why. Because the track that we're on at the moment, or the road that we're on at the moment, it looks like a Pride of Lions has walked here. She's been up and down this road so many times during the night. There's tracks for her going down and up, and now down again. And where she's going is directly towards where she kept her lumber for a while. So fingers crossed that she might be going there to the cubs. I don't know if it's touch and go that it might be water, but water was much closer. We've walked right past Tumbeta Pan, and we're still going south. So I don't know if these, well, not south actually, we're going west at the moment, but east. I don't know why I said west. I'll get it right eventually. There's only north left. But I think there's cubs. I think she might be going to cubs. That's what I suspect is happening. It's almost as though she's walking the same route over and over. And actually, if you look just behind where she is, on a little patch of sand in front here, you can see what I mean. There's toes and tracks going in all directions, which means she's been walking this route back and forth. Like I say to you, it's not really the place for water. It's not a great area for water. Much better den site areas, but it's going to be tricky for us because it's really difficult to access here. So let's see. And I've been checking this den almost daily just because I know if she comes to Djuma, these are areas that she likes to use. And so far I haven't seen anything, but you never know. Maybe she managed to sneak them in over the course of the last 2 nights from when we saw her with the ground hornbills. Maybe she managed to bring them in that way, but her tracks are just all over the place here. So it looks like she's going somewhere, and very, very, very seldom do leopards leave kills other than for water or for their cubs. And so who knows? Like I say, it might be water. There is water coming up again in front, but fingers crossed that this could be her going to the cubs. Ned, you saying fingers crossed the same as I am. It would be so cool to see the cubs. It's the ones that I've really wanted to see since I've been here. And wouldn't it just be the most amazing thing to kind of walk into her, she's a little bit kind of snarly, then basically looks at you and says, right, we're going, and off we go to the cubs. It would show the most amount of trust from a leopard if she were to do that. For her to know that she can leave where we would stay with her at the kill and take her to a den site, like I say, is a mother giving the most amount of trust that you can ever ask for in a wild animal. So let's hope that that's the case. It would really make my day if she were to do so. Let's just switch off and see if she's going to scent mark or if she's going straight in. I think she's going to the den site. It's down below here. It's a difficult one to get to. You've got to go round. It's literally right here. It is the exact one. Now, I don't know if you guys remember, those of you that are older viewers, the one where she had Kalamba on the log for a long time. Scott found the den, and then Noel had a couple good sightings. I saw her there. It's that den site that we're talking about at the moment. I don't know which way to go here. I don't want to lose her if she's just walking, but I also think she's going straight there. She is going straight there. Right, hold on, BK. We're going to try to rush around quickly. No, you can stay with us, Lindeko. This might be us finding her with the cubs. Just hold on. Problem is that it's a bit of a roundabout way to get there, so I can drive far out before I get into that area, just in case. LV, you say, are you sure I'm right? Well, we'll see. Time will tell, won't it? She's not going to where there's the traditional water point, so unless she's got another little water area that she likes, I'm not sure. But we're going to just try and get down. It's just up ahead in front of us here. All right, so we're just going to go a little slower now, just to try and get to this point. I don't want to obviously make her feel threatened by driving too fast anywhere towards her if the cubs are here. But there's one den here on the left side and one den on the right side. So we're just going to see which one she goes to. The problem with this one den is you can easily miss her. You've got to kind of look very carefully to be able to see it. So it's just here on the left, underneath this bank on the tree on the left-hand side. BK, I'm just going to go down and up. She's not crossing in the drainage here, so Veld, who's 9 years old, where do we usually spot leopards? Oh, anyway, leopards are versatile, incredibly resourceful cats, and so they can occur from deserts. There she is, she's on top. You see her on top there? She's just sniffing right on the top. So this is where I think this is the den. I'm pretty sure she's coming to it. There, she's calling, listen. I'm sure the cubs are here. This is so cool. I'm just watching for any movement in the grass. This is amazing. I'm almost 99.9% sure the cubs are here. Now that I heard her call. You can see one. BK can see a cub. Look, there's a little one. Yes! That's so cool. Now I only see one, which is not cool. Let's hope there's another one somewhere here that's just not listening to her at this stage. But definitely one. Now we know the last time that they were seen there was also only one. But they did say that the terrain was very difficult and that it was thick and it was not great. But let's just see now what happens. Sometimes there can be one cub that's more nervous than the other one and doesn't listen as much, and it might just be a little bit more shy. So we're just going to have to... I think she's laid down there, BK. Yeah, she is. Okay, right. I'm just going to reposition slightly. We're not going to go closer to her. We don't need to. Ultimately, Tandy, when she's with her cubs, she can sometimes be a little bit defensive of them. And so what I'm going to do is we're just going to view them from across the way here, because we're going to get a beautiful view. BK, how's that from there? I don't think the stump should be in your way. Well, it might be, but we should have a really nice view from there. Look at that. Hello, Tandy. Oh, you are such a good girl. But I think she might have lost one cub, to be honest with you. I think she's only got the one. I don't see any sign of a second one, which is bittersweet, to be honest with you. As much as it's nice to see the cubs, I was hoping that there would be both little heads would pop out, but it just looks like the one head that is out. And, I mean, it's difficult to say from here whether or not it's the boy or the girl, but just judging by that head size, I mean, I would imagine maybe it's the little male, which would go pretty much hand in hand with her track record over the years. Pretty much all her litters, she started with 2 and only ends up with 1, and she raises that 1 to adulthood, which is pretty crazy. And you say it is bittersweet, incredibly so. Like I say, let's just give it a little bit of time, but generally when one starts suckling like this, the other one should be there already. So I suspect that unfortunately there's only one cub left, which is incredibly sad, but happy at the same time that we still have a cub. You know, if one gets taken, it can very possible be that the other one was in danger too. And so, you know, this is the reality of what goes on out here. Just as much as we yesterday watched lions kill a warthog and saw a life end in that regard, so this is a very stark reminder that the predators don't have it all their own way, and that life for them is equally as tough as the prey animals. So, you know, she's eating an impala at the moment, but she's also going to lose her own offspring at times to various different predators. And it could be a python, it could be hyenas, it could be lions, it could be another leopard. You know, there's so many different things that could take a little leopard cub, bird of prey. So, you know, it's a harsh world out there, and cub survival rates are low. So as much as it's always so nice to see leopard cubs, you've got to always remember that the mortality rate of leopards in a system like this that's got such a high predator density is one that there is going to be a lot of deaths, unfortunately. And, you know, they reckon that only about 30% of the leopard cubs within the Sabi Sands actually make it to a year old. So it gives you an idea of how difficult it is. And like I say, Tandy's track record, if you go back to her first litter, 2 cubs, only 1 survived. Second litter, 2 cubs, only 1 survived. Third litter, 2 cubs, only 1 survived. Fourth litter, 2 cubs, only 1 survived. Fifth litter was just 1 cub as far as we know. We only ever saw 1. Sixth litter, 2, both didn't survive. Seventh litter was 2, and now just the 1 that we see. So it's a pretty kind of consistent pattern from her. Oh, is it the little boy or is it the little girl? I don't know. With that tail up, maybe somebody can get a screenshot.
as to see which one it is. Look at that. That is just the fattest, sweetest little thing. Oh, there is nothing better than leopard cubs. So Victoria, as I've just said, this is her 7th litter that we know of. It's possible that she might have given birth before and lost them before we even knew about it. Look at that little fat tummy. You are so fat and round. Looks like maybe the little female, actually, that's there. But she's had 7 litters, and these cubs, now I have seen every single one of her litters, which is pretty crazy. It's been very special to follow this cat. I saw all of her mom's litters and now all of her litters too, so just continuing the generations, which is crazy to think that, you know, watching her mom and watching the 5 litters she had versus the 7 litters, oh, that is just so precious. Hello, little one. You are full of beans already. Are you going to be like your sister? But I promise you can ask BK. I knew it from the moment we left that carcass that we were going to cubs. Just the way that she looked and the way that she started walking, it was just something that I've seen before in leopards. And as soon as she went past Tumbeta's waterhole, then I was pretty sure that we were going to go to cubs. What a way to spend a morning. I mean, like I say, it's bittersweet that we've lost a cub, but at the same time, just to find her on a kill, follow her to a cub in the middle of Djuma, where we had no idea that this cub was even here. I mean, I've driven past the spot. BK will attest to this. How many times have I driven past here, BK? A lot. And every time I point to BK, and I'm like, this is the place where Tandy has hidden her cubs. We must always just check for her here. And it's so many times, and then eventually for it to pay off, is just the most incredible thing. And like I say, it was a tough few days to start, and it's almost like nature has been kind of building it up to a point where it reached a sort of crescendo in the last few days, where we've just had the most magic week of sightings. If you think about how we struggled and we just had a few buffalo, a few elephants, and we were trying to find cats and really not winning at all. It's to build up to the point where we've had 2 kills. We've had her chasing ground hornbills, found her on a kill, Gachava and Not Ned on a kill, Hukamuri on a kill, and then to find the cub is just in the most central point of Djuma you could ever imagine, is as good as it gets. That's, for me at least. I mean, it would be better if we had 2 cubs present, there's no doubt about it, but this is just amazing. Now Lindeka is saying I've got 2 of my lucky charms, which is BK and Lindeka directing. That's true. I also have my lucky beanie with me. The lucky beanie has been on every single drive since we had that first warthog kill, and seems to be doing the business. I didn't have it with me prior to that, and we weren't finding much, but since the beanie's been on the car, we've been winning. Even yesterday afternoon I had the lucky beanie with me in my bag, so maybe it's the lucky beanie. We must just keep that. I'll have to keep it in my bag during the summer too, if we get to that point. But so special, and I really like where we are right now. It's something that I was saying just now, is that we're not going to go closer. At this point, we've got a really nice distance between us and her. We've got a great view of her. We've got a great view of the cub moving around, and there really is no need to go any closer. And I think that's one of the really nice things about having the camera the way that we do. This camera has an ability to obviously bring wildlife much closer to you guys at home. And so for us, we can sit at a reasonable distance that is in no way stressful to her. It's getting this cub used to our presence. You can see she's very alert to me being where I am. But if we were to go closer, it could potentially get her uncomfortable, and then she moves the den. Being at a nice distance like this, in a way that we haven't crashed any bushes, we haven't broken any branches, and the point that she's sitting down, she's grooming, is really a good sign that we're in a safe sort of zone with Tandy. And I always like to give her more space than most other leopards, just purely because she can be very, very, very sort of defensive of her cubs and of her dens, and rightly so. As we were saying, there's a lot of things that threaten cubs, so she's going to make sure that she keeps her cubs nice and close, make sure that they don't go into a situation where they wander too far from us, and at this distance, even if the cub moves a little bit towards us to see what we are, we're still far enough away that she won't feel like we're threatening her or her den site, which is really, really nice. Oh my girl, thank you. She's been an absolute treat this morning. She didn't eat me when I walked into her, which is always a bonus to start the day.
And then, like I say, to have that trust to take you from far down towards the den site is something incredibly special. I don't think a lot of people understand that, particularly for us as guides. When we spend so many days, so many weeks, so many hours looking, finding, following, and a lot of the time spending, times with nothing, to get a moment where you've followed a cat for the last 10 years, and she has the trust to be able to take you and a big vehicle that makes a lot of noise all the way back to her little cub is a very, very, very special moment. It's not something that you take for granted. Like I say, at the end of the day, you've got a situation where she could have just taken us somewhere else. We could have happened upon her, which is different. But the fact that she actually physically took us in the vehicle all the way, knowing that we're following her, is incredibly special. So absolutely spoilt with the fact that she's done this, and amazing in so many ways that we've managed to see this little one. I think the little one you can see is playing with the tail. Isn't that cute? She's almost moving her tail on purpose now. So Matt, it's really interesting watching female leopards, and there's one up the tree now. Is it the little one? Is that? It's the same one, huh? So Matt, it's really interesting watching these female leopards, because each female leopard is different. With Tandy, I didn't see her scent mark, but we know she defecated on the road. That's how we found her, as her tracks and her poo led us to her initially. But she's, as I said to you when we were following her to this point, you can see that there's just this highway of tracks going back and forth, which is already an indicator that she was coming towards something that she's been visiting frequently, which really, like I say, is pretty much a den site. Very seldom do they do that for water when they're on a kill. It might be once, but not multiple times like that. So she seemingly doesn't scent mark, but is quite visible in terms of her business. Oh my gosh, you're just like Tlalamba. This is how Tlalamba was too, at this exact same den site. Up a tree, down a tree, over a tree, falling out of trees, just absolutely hooliganism. There it goes. Can you see it? What are you doing, little one? This is... And just see... No, you can't... Is that not the cutest thing? Oh, that is sweet. So, so cute. Anyway, so what I was saying is that basically her movement is on roads. But when we used to see Salahesh in the west, so around Simambili, when she had her cubs, when she had Tiani and various other litters, she was incredibly good at not walking on roads. So what she would do is anytime she was going to the cubs with no scent marking, and she would literally go across a road. So she would basically walk straight across and into grass, not on game paths. And she must have figured out that hyenas followed her less if she did that way. Whereas obviously with Tandy, she feels like she's confident enough to walk on the roads and that it's okay, especially from a kill. But this is just so magic. Look at this, mom and baby playing. And she's so good at this. You know, a lot of you that will remember her time with Tlalamba, this is exactly how she was with Tlalamba too. Is she plays and she gives all the attention, particularly because it's only one little cub now. Life is not as easy for that little cub. You know, it can't play, it doesn't have a playmate, and so mom has to fill that void as the playmate for her. And so you find that she ends up having to do a lot of that, and she is incredibly patient with her cubs. Often we spend time with her and she plays and she uses her tail to lure the little cub to make sure that it spots, to practice and learns particularly how to climb. And I'll never forget, not so much with her but with Salahesh, watching Salahesh teach Tiani how to climb a tree. It was the most fascinating thing to watch this leopard teaching its cub that trees are a point of safety. And how they did it was a game. Salahesh would run and Tiani would chase, and then Salahesh would go up the tree and she would then call from the tree. And then as Tiani would get to the top of the tree, then she would jump down again and call her, and then Tiani would figure her way back down because she wasn't as stable and big enough to jump from where Salahesh had jumped from. Then she would sit there and then she would run back up the tree again and call. And they did this for about an hour, and eventually this little one started to get so good at climbing this little tree, she eventually caught her mom. So initially, she was battling to kind of keep up with Saleh as she was hopping through the branches. But by the end of this hour and a half session, this little cub had learned. And from then on, she didn't have to ever do that again. Every time there was hyenas or anything like that, she would go up a tree and Tiani would follow immediately. And this playing that you see with the tree bending and those kind of things is similar to that. That's the cub learning how to climb. And when they can climb, their survival chance goes up exponentially. You must imagine that things like pythons, hyenas, lions, if a cub can climb, they can avoid those things pretty quickly. I mean, a python will go up a tree, but it's easier for them to kind of get up into very thin branches and try and get away from it. So once they're able to climb, it's really a big step in a leopard's life and a big jump in their ability to survive. Prior to that, they really are, unfortunately, at the mercy of finding somewhere where something else can't actually get to them. So a hole in the ground or something like that, which is few and far between, I'm afraid. So, you know, once she can climb and do those kind of things, and I say she, it looks like a little girl. I can't see nicely. You guys will have a much better view of that little bum and will know whether it was a boy or a girl. For me, to give you an idea of how far Tandy is, she's probably at about 70 meters from where I am at the moment. So she's a long way away. Maybe not 70 meters, let's call it 50. So she's quite far. And so it's difficult to see whether the little one is a boy or a girl. But what we're going to do is we're going to try and see if we can just go back on the clip and try and prepare a little slow motion one for all of you guys so that you can maybe get a screenshot and see which cub we've got here. This is just so sweet. And so while we do that, let's send you back across to andBeyond in Ngala.
So we just saw this one Ross male moving close to the pride. So the whole pride came down and they're laying down in the riverbed now. But it was so interesting because he was actually moving to where the female is laying down with the young cubs. I'm just going to lean out of the way so my big head's not in the way. Just to show you, so the other young white male is just right in front of us here. The rest of the pride is off to the right. And right here off to our left is that young subadult male. So right there and just behind him. We'll focus on the other Ross male now, but I just wanted to focus on this young male as we speak. Now, for me, it was quite a big concern, like over the last few weeks. His condition really deteriorated, but it looked like he picked up quite a bit of weight again, especially if you look towards his back legs and also like his overall condition and the way that he's sitting down. You can see there, especially on that side, like I think 2 weeks ago, you could just see all the bones and you could see all the ribs, but it does look like he's picked up a bit of condition now. And even look at the way that he's lifting his head, picking up his ears. So that brings a lot of joy to one's heart. There's actually a few lines that are spread across here, so we're going to try and show everyone all the lines. So, and if we can move to these ones right over here, because there's so much going on, so we're going to try and just focus. So that's the other Ross male that's laying off to the side. And what's interesting, the first one we had the camera on actually just walked past the young subadult, well, no longer subadult, just this young male, and didn't do anything. And then came and lay down here, and then just off to the right, there's another white one that's lying down close to where we think the mother is with the young cubs. So we're just going to reposition, because there's just so much happening. We just don't know where to focus at the moment, so we're going to slowly try and work through this and show you the whole sighting. So you can see that youngster, that young female, she's actually looking back the whole time, and I think she's looking back at those cubs. And just behind them, you'll notice there's a little groove in the side of the riverbank. So that's what we refer to as a drainage line. So every time there's a lot of water, the water will come down from there into the river, and she's probably just laying in there with the youngster. And then just off to the, so probably somewhere in there. So if we then focus just off to the right, you'll notice there's some more lines just lying down on that one patch there. And it is so peaceful as we speak. You just want to, like I've asked Owen if he wants to go and lay down in the sand next to the lines. He's just saying that he really doesn't want to. Don't know why, but something just gave me an impression he's probably has a sore ankle. But it'd be interesting to see what happens. It's just such a beautiful scene. Now, just to describe it so that you can feel and just so that you know what's happening. So, open riverbed, a lot of the birds on these big trees next to the riverbed calling, and of course all the lions. You can just hear now and then some of them sneezing. But very peaceful scene. I think while we enjoy this peaceful scene, let's set you across to a bit more of a playful scene with Tristan back at Djuma.
Well, it's as playful as you get. It is full of beans this morning, this little one. So cute. I've absolutely loved seeing it this morning. Look at this. You can see it just watching the tail. It's biting sticks, it's biting branches, and is generally just a cuteness overload. Oh, to see leopard cubs is so special. Like I say, if you think, look at it watching the tail, watch. If you think about the shy, secretive nature of a leopard, to be able to witness their tiny little babies is a very special thing. Now, I've just been called on the radio. Go ahead, Mish, I'm just live at the moment. Can I call you when I'm done? Now, you can see it bounding around all over the place, which is super cool. Amazing. How special. I mean, this is the perfect way to spend a Sunday morning. I mean, like I say, it's very difficult to put into words what these kind of sightings mean for us as guides. And we often get this question as people ask us, what is your favorite sighting? And I always say it's really a tricky thing for us, because a favorite sighting, there's so many different things that happen out here, and so many sightings mean different things. So some might be cute and awe-inspiring like this, or there's the power and brutality of what we witnessed yesterday afternoon. And so all of these things are kind of balanced themselves out. But for me personally, I always think that the things that I remember the most are these kind of things, the moments where an animal has shown complete trust in you. And so to watch Tandy, this is, I mean, like I say, her 7th litter that I've seen of hers, 2 of which I was the first ones to see them, and this one is at a very young age. Then you've got, obviously, I had a lioness in Lion Sands that showed me her little cub with a good friend of mine, Mike Moss, and that was also the most amazing thing, first ones to see that. So those kind of sightings, for me, are always the special ones, because there's an intimacy and there is a trust shown by a animal that generally is quite shy, for us to be able to see. Now, she's just drifted off a little bit. I didn't see the cub follow her. It's not to say the cub hasn't. So I'm just going to sit here for 2 seconds and just see if maybe she lies down somewhere, or if we see her again. But she might be going back up towards the kill. She might have just come, suckled, made sure the cub's okay, maybe just shown us a cub, and off we go again. Tummy, the cub will probably just be sleeping. So they just rest. Cats do sleep a large portion of their day. So I'm pretty sure it would just be resting. All right, let's just move a little bit. I'm going to just go back and just try and see if I can see what she's doing and where she's going. Maybe she's just moving off again back towards the kill. In that case, obviously, we'll just follow her back to where the kill is. I know Steve said he might go and pop in and see if he can find Ribbon at the kill. But if she moves back there, then we'll just follow her that way. So Landek, I don't know if you can just let Steve know that she is moving again. I don't think she's going to go farther. I suspect, in all likelihood, she's just going to try and kind of lie down somewhere, maybe just a little bit more hidden. It's such a great place to have a leopard cub here. There's these holes in the banks, there's fallen over trees, there's everything that you could wish for in this general vicinity if you're a leopard. And so it's possible that she's just gonna, kind of lie up again. You see anything? There's a little cub playing with her on top of the bank. Look, I wonder if she's gonna take it back to the kill. Maybe we're gonna see this cub for the very first time go to meat. Wouldn't that be cool? If she takes it to a kill for its very first time. I wonder if she would with hyenas there. It would be interesting. Look at that little face. Hello, little one. Are you curious about us? Oh, it's nice to meet you with your little fat tummy. Oh, how special is this? Now you'll watch Tandy. If the little cub ventures too far, she's just going to call. She's going to make a little sound, and then the cub will come back to her. You hear it? You hear the chuffing? That's her calling the cub. Come back. You're going too far away. I just want to sit patiently. She looks like she might be angling down. Now, if she does take this cub back to the kill, it's going to be slow going, because the cub is going to be, one, fairly nervous of traveling. Two, it's going to be a situation where she's going to have to stop and call, and then we're going to need to be very sensitive about the way that we do it. We need to be very kind of held back a little bit. If they're on the road, then it's okay. Then we can just let them walk up the road the whole way and don't actually even follow them until they get to the top, and then we can slowly come up behind them. But you've got to be a bit careful with that, because the cub sometimes gets nervous, especially if you're off-roading, and runs away from mom, and then mom gets panicked, and so you've just got to be nice and kind of relaxed about it. I can see them playing there. Let's just go forward a bit, BK. Looks like they're lying down again. It's just kind of through this little gap here. Let's just see. You can see her tail. You see her tail through there. It's difficult to... Actually, you know what, BK? Let's go forward. I can see there's a gap there. It's going to be a bit of a slope, which is not going to be ideal. That's actually going to be really nice. Oh, look at that. Isn't that cool? Hello, Tandy. Look at this little cub. Look at that. That is as good a visual as you could ever want. Wow. Tandy, you're spoiling us this morning, my girl. Thank you. Like I say, it's a special thing. Just loving that little fluffy tail that bounds around everywhere as well. She looks regal up there, doesn't she? The way she's sitting. She looks incredibly pretty. And like I say, very regal in the way that she's just watching us from up top of the bank, sitting almost with that kind of queen-like stance that she's got. Oh no, there's a bushbuck. That's not going to go well. We're at Ngala, maybe. It's going to maybe make her move, so I'm not sure if she's going to stay still now. Alright, so we're going to just show you a little replay quickly of the cub, and so you guys can tell me if it's a boy or a girl. Hopefully that'll then mean that we'll be able to establish which one we actually have here. Alright guys, so hopefully somebody got a screenshot of that, somebody could see, and maybe you can let us know whether or not it's a boy or a girl. I'm quite curious to know which one we have at this stage. To me it almost looked like a girl, but I might be wrong. Yeah. What do you see? BK maybe saw something. Look how cute that little cub is when it runs around. It's quite brave. I'm actually quite surprised. It's not as shy of us as I thought it would be. You know, normally when the car starts, a little cub will run for cover. But this one seems fairly fine. As long as it's near mom, it's absolutely okay. She seems fairly okay with us as well. So I think we're all right for now. Okay. So a lot of you are saying it's the little girl that we've got. Which is going to be nice. I mean, it's another little future queen that we have in our area, which will be always welcome. Female leopards generally stick around, so it's nice when you get females. The boys obviously typically distribute, so. But look at this. Isn't this cool? Come on, little cub, come back to us. We want to see you play with your mum again. What a magic way to spend the day. And she's giving us such a nice view. It's so nice and open where she's sitting. Alright, well, the little one is bouncing around all over the place. So while it does, and while we enjoy this view, let's send you back across to another cuteness overload with Tswalu Kalahari.
So this little male has been left behind as a babysitter. And the rest of the group is out foraging. They're completely out of sight of us now. Quite challenging for them when they're moving through this. Where we're sitting here, as you can see, it's very, very open. But the further away they move, there's a lot more grass cover. You know, when you're a little animal this size, that presents quite a challenge for keeping your eyes out for predators. And finding that other puff adder this morning is, you know, again, that's just highlights just how many potential predators are out here for an animal this size. While I've got you all on this journey with us, Jandre and I have to come clean about something. This is like our confession. Melanie is missing in action. Unfortunately, we have no idea. I think she fell off off our vehicle last night. Anyway, we've put word out to see if anyone can find her, and we will keep you all updated on progress on relocating Melanie. But anyway, you might have noticed her absence yesterday afternoon and during the course of this morning. But we will keep you posted, and hopefully we can track Melanie down again. We're holding thumbs. She's part of the team. There's a big armored ground cricket walking right next to this one. It might go for it. Well, you know, Jandra and I did consider putting a safety belt on Melanie, but then she really objected strongly, and she thought it would be easier for her to sit on the dashboard and help us look for animals. But anyway, we've learnt our lesson, so let's see what she's got up to, and we'll keep you posted. We're quite upset about it too. So it's interesting that armored ground cricket walked straight past this meerkat. It watched it, didn't do anything. When the others ran off foraging, unfortunately it was way out of the camera range already, but one actually stopped at a ground.
Well, back from the Kalahari, we do apologise about any technical mishaps you might have had there. There's a new location, and there are always going to be little glitches in the system. But we've managed to find the matriarch of the Djuma clan. I do believe this is Ribbon. We followed up on Tristan's wonderful tracking earlier of Tandy to the kill site where she has hoisted an impala. And here we have the opportunistic nature of a hyena sitting ready and waiting for some scraps to be developed. We actually made our way past the den site to see if we could find this individual with her cubs. No one was home, and that's because there's food to be had. So here we have, I do believe it is Ribbon, with a big notch out of her left ear. There's been such massive dynamic shifts in this hyena clan over the last 18 or 20 so months. It went from it being a very stable clan to all sorts of things happening towards the middle end of last year. It's going to be very interesting now that I'm back to see exactly what's going on. We saw a hyena earlier in the road at the beginning of our drive, but we didn't manage to get it on camera or even in the binocular field, so I wasn't able to identify who it was. But these fellows, male and female, cover enormous amounts of area. So when you're tracking, you never track hyenas because they cover crazy amounts of area. So we were on Simbambile earlier. We had tracks of the Nkuhuma Pride with the cubs up and down, and we found ourselves in a very low signal area. And being my first time over there, I wasn't really able to figure out where we could hang out to have a signal, but we weren't able to find the lions anyway. We decided to move out so we could contribute to the show, and then Tristan is magnificent once again, found Tandy with her cub. So very, very special days. I'm very excited to be able to see her. I spent lots of time last year trying to find her previous litter, and well, Tristan has done just that.
Right, now we've lost view of her. She's moved, it looks like heading back towards the road, so I'm just going to go back that side. So I wonder if she's not going to take this little cub to the kill. We're not going to be able to spend too much longer with her. There's one other vehicle that wants to come and have a look, and we're going to try and keep it to one vehicle a drive after this morning. So I'm not going to spend that much longer. If I can't find her on the road on the other side, then we're just going to leave it. And then we'll obviously somebody will come and check this afternoon. But how amazing was that? So special to see. Like I say, it's an incredibly cool thing to have, that's for sure. All right, I just got to get back up this hill now. You can see why she likes it in here. Dense, thick, undulating. It's just everything that you would want for a leopard den, really. She's done incredibly well to be able to do this. I just don't know, like I say, whether she's going to take this to the kill. It looks a little on the young side, but it's not far off. I think within the next couple of weeks, not today, it's going to get its first taste of meat. I just worry about the fact that there's a hyena there. I don't know if she'll take the one knowing that there's hyenas around and in residence of that area. So I'm sure if she would, but let's see. You never know. We're going to try and kind of see what plays out a little bit. Obviously going to go much slower now on the road. The only reason I went so quickly to get around this side is because I also know Tandy. Sometimes she wouldn't just kind of arrive and just go another direction, and you end up with a situation where you kind of have no idea where she's gone. So I wanted to try to get around as possible, knowing that if she went into the Mulawati, I would have had a good chance of seeing her from there. So we're just going very, very slowly, just to see if I can spot her. It should be just in front here. So it's actually quite open from this side, but I don't like coming from this side because it doesn't allow you to give her enough space. So it's why I always try to go from the other side. So you put the drainage line between you and her. So they were just over there. And like I say, it's better if you've got a drainage line or you've got something between her that she feels like you're not on top of her. I feel like when you go in and you drive right on top of her, then she's not as comfortable with your presence. So I always like to give a bit more space, but she's somewhere around here. All right, Lindeka, can I ask that we go somewhere else? I just really need to speak to these people that want to go into the sighting and just show them what's going on so that we can leave it there, because she's moved a little bit and obviously Don't want to disturb her too much. Right, alright, so we're going to just speak to them, let them know what's going on, and in the meantime, let's send you back across to Ngala, see how they're getting on.
So we just want to have a look at these two youngsters that are currently having a bit of a playful tussle with one another. So we'll just give it some time. You might just see them getting out again. You can just see the one's ears like sticking out above the sand. Just give it some time. Oh. I love it how the two sisters had to team up to take down probably one of the half brothers. Do you see? So that the one that's now moving away, so from the right to the left, and that young white female, those are the two sisters. And if we give it some time, they're very, very playful this morning. You can see as soon as the one just starts moving, then the others think it's an opportunity to learn and practice their hunting skills on one another. So let's just have a look at this female. But if you notice on her left elbow and just under her belly, it looks like there's a little wash of blood. And that might be because of a kill during the evening. You can see she's just giving a little contact call. So some of the youngsters might follow her soon. Let's see if she starts heading up the bank. Oh! Definitely, here's one of the Rossmels just cut up. You should see the little interaction once he gets a little bit closer. Djuma, that's a really good question. Like, I'm not too sure. Like, I do know that they patrol quite a big area. And to be honest, I haven't seen them with any of the other prides. I'm sure there will be some prides that they could possibly associate with. And I'll try and find out a little bit more about that, especially from some of the trackers that have been here for quite a while and some of the rangers, and try and get back to you on that question. For this afternoon's drive, I'll definitely get back. I'll try and figure out, because from my experience, every time we have followed the Rossmels, I haven't really seen them joining up with another pride. I'm sure they'll be able to join up with the breakaway pride, according to my knowledge. And also there might be a pride here in the eastern part of the reserve. But I'll definitely go and find out a little bit more about it, and then hopefully by this afternoon's game, I'll get back to you on that. You can see she's moving off as we speak. She might just be like going to find a nice little patch of shade to lay down, and this is where they'll be resting up for the day. Oh, and if we could focus on these ones right over here on the right. Now, you can barely see them at the moment. However, if we give it some time, just constantly you can see the one jumping on top of the other one's back. You might just see a tail up in the air now and again. Now that one that we're seeing off to the right of the screen is actually pulling Dylan, there could be quite a few females. It all depends on, of course, the size of the actual pride. Now, in some areas, the pride could be up to 30 lions. And, oh, all of them getting ready. There's another one that just came down. Let's just have a look here. So there could be quite a few lionesses within a pride, and it can range anywhere from just 2, maybe even 1, all the way up to 25 possible lionesses within the pride. They make up the majority of the pride, and of course, depending on the males that are within that pride, sometimes it could be 1, there could be 2, it could be a coalition of up to 5. And the majority of them would be the females. So it all depends on the size of the pride, but the females would probably be like 90% of the makeup of that pride. And just off to the left here, I know it's a bit hard through the reeds, but this one is practicing a takedown on the other one. So the other one's just sitting upright, and that one is basically trying to chew off the tail. So we'll spend some more time with these lions. This one's just taking down the reed. But in the meantime, while we do that, we're going to send you across to Tristan for an update.
Can you just give me 2 seconds? I'll chat to you now. Sorry guys, I was just on the radio. As you can see, there's a monitor lizard that's there and is sitting very, very pretty. We've left Tandy and the little one. We've left one card to try and see if they can see something, but they're not going to stay for too long, and then it will be closed. We're going to run it as a 1-vehicle sighting per drive for now, which will be nice. I just need to talk to somebody on the radio so you guys can watch that lizard slither. Sorry, Dave. It's just going to be 1 vehicle per drive. So when Sally's done now, it will be closed for the morning, and then there'll be a vehicle able to go this afternoon. Yeah, AFM's Tandy, she's just got the 1 cub, but it's just in the place where she had Tlalamba. I don't know if you remember when Tlalamba was in the Mulawati, close to Twin Dams. It's just there. Yeah, it seems like it. Alright, so they're just people, everyone's just trying to find out what's going on with the den, but like I say, we quickly just manage it and just make sure that we're not putting too much pressure on her. At the end of the day, we don't want 400 vehicles going in and out, crashing around, because she's just going to move it around again. And like I said, the nice thing about that particular den is you don't actually have to bash trees down. That was done the last time when Tlalamba was there, so now it's just a nice little 2-track and gentle to be able to get to her and the cub. But nice to see some monitor lizards. We're going to hang around the dam here. We'll have a look at Dewey and the little grebes that are milling about. But while we do that, let's send you to Tswalu Kalahari with Dylan and the meerkats that I think are also just milling about.
So the little babysitter's just gone down again. And we're just going to sit here waiting for him to pop up. There was a bit of alarm calling way out towards the dune crest, so from here probably 400 meters. It could just be a jackal or something, so nothing serious, but I think it may pay off if we just sit quietly and just watch. When the alarm calling started, this meerkat was very alert, was watching, and then just went down the hole. And it was birds alarm calling, sorry, yeah, to clarify, that was birds alarm calling. It could even be a snake that's on the move, or a bird of prey that came over that we didn't see. So we'll just keep our eyes open and hopefully we'll get something. So the direction we're looking now is where the rest of the group went foraging, so they headed down that way. And they remember also when they go out, they're not going to forage constantly. You know, they've got to rest as well. And as the day picks up or gets warmer, they'll start going into the shade of bushes or even little bolt holes. This burrow right close to us over here, this is one of their bolt holes, and what we've noticed over the past couple of mornings, they've been very, very active in maintaining this particular one when they're heading out. And it's only 8 yards away from where they're leaving their main burrow system, where the pups are. So that's just an interesting observation in terms of how they maintain the burrow structures. And what we've also noticed, Jandra and I were talking about it this morning, is the Makala group is doing a lot more burrow maintenance. And we think the reason there is because these ones have got pups, they're just doing that like a little bit every day, whereas the Makalas, their pups are very, very big already, which means that they're moving burrow system every couple of days. And I think that translates into them really having to put a lot of energy into actually digging and burrowing every time they get to a burrow system that hasn't been used for a while. So, but this little one should be up shortly again. We'll just wait and bide our time. This is a lot of waiting and a lot of patience required in the outdoors. And I think sorry, I'm going to try to see if Jandra can get, there's a wildebeest in the far distance. Quite a long way away there. You getting it, Jandra? Can you see him? Okay, good job. That's a wildebeest bull that's appeared now. So we're going to just spend more time here and try to see what develops, if there's any further sign or sound of alarm calling. And I think in the meantime, head over to Ngala and see what's going on that side.
So we just want to have a look at this one youngster. So it just picked up a stick and ran all across from the right off to the left and just decided to lie down here. Let's just give it some time, because I'm sure with them getting a bit more playful that this one would eventually get up and start going back again. So Owen, I'm going to try and focus on the one off to the right to see where that young white male is. There's one that's trying to pull a reed. Here we go. Normally works out, like, as soon as we try to point it out, is one that's moving to the right. Now that little mound off to the right seems to be quite a fun little thing for them to play with, or even like to run up to. You'll see they'll constantly run up to the top there, and the one is always trying to be higher than the other will run down again. One running. So there's just so much happening. It's so hard to point it out, because as soon as we want to point out here, then something else happens off to the right. So we're going to try and see wherever there's going to be the most action and try and focus the camera on there. Anushka, that's with the youngsters. So I just want to point out, so Owen, if you focus on that young male and that one that's sitting on the bank there, looking down. So just behind that one, in that little stretch, oh, it's going to fall down. Good catch. But just in the back there, that's where we saw them heading in last. So it might only be until later on. I think with all these being so playful, the mother just decided, no, she's not going to bring them out towards the rest of the pride. So she's just lying down in the back there, probably just waiting for the right opportunity to bring them out. It might only be that she'll do that this afternoon. Already this morning, she had them out, and probably from there on she decided, let's take them, probably feed them for a little while, and then later this afternoon they'll head out again. So we can definitely this afternoon come back and spend some more time with this pride and see if those youngsters can come out. But definitely watching lions, especially the youngsters, are some of my favorite. It's just that they are so clumsy, especially when they're young. You can see their paws are really big, and it's almost like they need to grow into that. So they're very clumsy. They'll grab a reed, they'll roll into, hit each other. So, very special sighting. And it's almost like whenever some of them do play, the others feel like they are missing out. That one just picked up a stick off to the right. So I wonder how long it's going to be before the others want to definitely try and get that stick. That young white male also picked up a stick. I just saw him picking up something. Jennifer, I agree with you. They are getting quite big, and it's so nice to see the whole pride here. I mean, the mothers with all their youngsters, the young male that's been away from the pride and joined up again, the 2 Ross males, and all of them, and I haven't noticed any one of them fighting this morning. So, I mean, that's pretty good news for us. But it doesn't look like that other Ross male has left that young male. It just looks like they still lying down next to one another, haven't moved. I think they'll only move late on. It's still a bit overcast at the moment. It's not as warm, so they might be out for a little while longer. Now let's see what's going to happen once this young male gets out of that little dip there. Now it's 2 on 1. So this young male has been picking on everyone, and now they decided they're going to take him down. And what's so interesting, the one that's right in front of him is the smallest of the, or no, not anymore, but from the pride that used to be here, it's the sister of that young white female. Now they're picking on the older half-brother. So while we are going to spend a little bit longer time with the pride, we're going to send you across to andBeyond Pinder, and I heard there's some good news. Apparently, they found a cheetah.
Hello and welcome back to andBeyond Pinder Private Game Reserve with myself, Damon, and Marcel on camera. And we've been searching almost a Tambuti thicket, and unfortunately we're not able to get a view of them. We were called in by another vehicle out here. They told us they'd managed to find this young male cheetah. And so that's who we're sitting with currently. See how he's resting there with his chest in the shade of this little thicket next to this big ravine. Have a look at him with his head crooked up like that, his body flat. Cheetah out here all by himself. They're still quite small, not yet full. Recently independent from his mother. Okay, so just hearing that apparently. So send you back across to Tristan at Djuma, who's got some hippos.
Well, as you can see, we're still at the dam. We've been watching some hippos and monitor lizards. Well, I say hippos, hippo. Dewey, who's having a far more restful morning than he did yesterday. Yesterday, this time, there was buffalo around, and poor Dewey was frothing and losing the plot and biting sticks and just generally not being very impressed by those that have invaded his waterhole. Today, it's a cooler morning, and so very little has made its way down to the dam just yet. And so Dewey is, well, taking it easy and sleeping, prepping for the next assault on the buffalo herd. I feel like Dewey and the buffalo herd are going to wage war through this entire winter. I think there's going to be many instances of buffalo coming to drink and poor Dewey losing the plot about it. You'd think that he'd get used to it eventually, but for some reason he just doesn't like the buffalo. He's not so bad with the ellies, but the buffalo seem to rile him up. It's probably because the buffalo are slightly smaller than he is, and then on top of it is that they make a lot of noise. They splash and grunt and moan, and maybe it just disturbs his peace. Maybe he's a quiet kind of guy and just likes to, you know, loll about and read the morning newspaper and take it easy. And the buffalo are, you know, the loud neighbors that cause a lot of fuss. Maybe that's what it's about. But anyway, he's, like I say, having a bit of a sleep. You know, probably was out in the night having a feed, and so now's time just to rest. A lot of you are saying this is the calm after the storm. For sure, it's been a crazy morning. It was just kind of one of those mornings where everything just went as well as it could have. You know, you have a situation where you basically just kind of can't have scripted it any better than what it was, the way that things happened and the way that you know, we managed to find the kill and then be taken to the cubs. It's just as good as it gets. So super happy. Okay, we're going to probably carry on from here, see what else we can find. Oh, there's a Stephen Falcon bridge driving past. So while we watch Steve drive past, let's send you across to Tswalu Kalahari and see what Dylan's up to with the meerkats.
So this little one's just popped out the burrow again. There's been no further alarm calling by the birds out towards the dune there. We did have and he's actually still around somewhere in the background. We can't see him now, but we had a big wildebeest bull that came ambling past. He may pop out again. The meerkats obviously have got no concern with them whatsoever. Must be a long day for these babysitters, eh? Constantly checking up on the little ones, sitting outside, no feeding. Annette, it is beautiful seeing these meerkats, eh? Very special. My favorite time is when they just start coming out the burrows in the morning and they're still sleepy, and you get that beautiful dust. Just such charismatic little things. Every time a bird flies over, it watches it. It can't take any chances now. He's got no one else to rely on. He's got none of the other group members here. And that's why they won't feed while the others are here. You know, when the group's moving and there's sentries on duty and they can forage, then you always get time, for the different ones that can do their own things. But when they're sitting by themselves like this, they just don't have time to, or they can't risk actually starting to feed and concentrating on a meal when there could be danger around. I think head up back over to Ngala, and we're going to stay a bit longer with these meerkats.
So we just want to focus. As we said, there's so much happening at the moment. We don't know where to start. So we just wanted to start on that raw smell, and then we'll get back to this young female that's moving here. Now, the brother basically came and lied down right next to the vehicle. So let's see where she might be heading off. There are some other lines in front of us, and possibly right over here. And I'm going to ask if you can focus right in front of us. I'm going to try and lean out of the way. I know my head might be in the way as we speak, so I'm going to lower down. So what's strange is, so see that young stud that's lying down at the moment now, that one hasn't been very playful. All the others have started playing with one another, chasing each other, but that one has been lying down the whole morning. So it'll be interesting to see once the others get closer. At least he lifts up his head. He's all right. I think he's just not a morning lion. There you go. And there's there's just so much happening. So on the bank on the left, there's that young tawny female that just started stalking one of the other siblings. Just have a look. So what we'll do from here on, I think we're going to spend some time with these lions, but how amazing was this morning? I just heard there were just so many amazing things seen across at Tswalu Kalahari. There's been some sightings, of course, at Djuma, and there was quite a nice sighting with the cheetah and Damon. I heard that you didn't see him for too long. However, there's a few things that are going to be ironed out, and hopefully this afternoon everything will be straightened out and you'll spend some more time with Pinder. It is such a beautiful reserve. I spent most of my guiding career at Pinder, and definitely a lot of so I'm just watching this one lion like playing around, but what I definitely want to say is hopefully this afternoon we can get back here and see what these lions might be up to. And hopefully, I know Tristan, Steve, Damon, I'm not sure who else is going to be joining. Also, some of the amazing rangers from Tswalu Kalahari. And hopefully this afternoon we can all join up again and see everyone here. Now, I would love to know from the kids, send us some messages what you're hoping to do with us. But what I'm going to try and do is just quickly move out of the way so we can have a look at this lion. So just want to say thank you to everyone from myself and Owen, and hope that everyone will have a beautiful afternoon or beautiful morning.